What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Pokemon Rants. When we think of the words Pokemon Rants, ironically, there's only one man that comes to mind more than any other, and that's Pokemon Knowledge. PK is a man of deep thought and uncanny ability to relate all of life's experiences to a plethora of Pokemon analogies as deep as the Sharpedo's waters, but yet as accurate as a cut from Scyther himself. As this man forges through the Pokemon journey, instead of being burned out, somehow, I don't know how, but PK recharges like Raichu and then burns even deeper into this hobby. And just as the name implies, PK continues to drop knowledge from day one, and 3 years later, in and outside of his content creation, he continues to refine his craft and, of course, dropping knowledge on all of those willing to listen. Today is no exception. So I gladly welcome PK to bring in the new year of 2024 and run us now with another Pokemon Rants. PK, welcome to Pokemon Wonder, my friend.
Justin, that was probably the best introduction I've ever heard. So I've seen a few of your podcasts now, and you always have amazing introductions, but I think that might be the best one yet. I'm definitely biased, but best one yet. But yeah, man, I'm excited to have a chat with you, and thanks for having me on the channel.
I really appreciate it, my friend. I do it because I love to hear it, not because I want to be cliche, but I need to hear, how did you get into Pokemon? Give me the backstory from start to finish. Give me the intro.
So my backstory is probably like a lot of people. So with my age demographic in 5th grade, it was 1999. So that was the hot thing. I remember going to my friend's house, and I could never wake up early enough. And I remember the Pokemon, the TV show, was on WB, the WB network, and I could never wake up early enough to watch it. But my friend would wake up, and they would record it on like a VHS tape. So every Saturday at like 12 o'clock after I ate lunch, I would ride my bike over to his house and like make him rewatch the episode. So I was always big into the TV shows, and then super big into the trading card game. And then, I was in for base set Jungle Fossil, and then a little bit of maybe Team Rocket, a little bit of base set 2 maybe before that. I think looking back on it, maybe base set 2 is what pushed me out before Team Rocket, because it's just a reprint set. But yeah, then after elementary school, I went to middle school. My middle school was 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So at that point, it's not about Pokemon anymore. So then I left Pokemon. I left Pokemon, and I didn't rediscover it till after college. So in college, I went for a degree in geoscience, so it makes me a geologist. And right after college, you have one or two options you could kind of go. But the option I went was petroleum engineering. So I was a petroleum engineer in North Dakota. And at the time, I was living in a man camp, and we had real crazy work schedules. We were working all the time, but when you weren't working, you were literally just in your room by yourself. You had a TV, a computer, and that was it. When I first started my job was when I got my first ever smartphone. So this is going back 2012.
Which one was it?
iPhone 6.
Okay.
Yeah, that was. Oh no, iPhone 5 actually. So I went. Okay. I've always jumped pretty big, but I had iPhone 5, which was the smaller one. Then I went 6, and then I had 2 6s, and then I jumped to the 10. So I've had 4 iPhones. Like, I really, really like use my iPhones until the battery stopped working. But anyways,
explode. And I think if I remember correctly, when you were in the man camp, you were watching TV on your Sony Vaio.
I did have a Sony Vaio computer. Wow, that's pretty wild. It was so that was the laptop that my grandfather bought me when I started college for freshman year.
I love that story.
So he brought me to Best Buy. Well, at the time I was the one driving. I had an old, big, huge Lincoln Town car at the time, just gigantic boat. And I drove with him to Best Buy, and he picked out that computer for me, and it was like his gift for me going out off to college. So by the time I was in that man camp, that thing was on its last leg. So, but no,
I love it.
I would just go on eBay and I would just buy stuff. And at the time, I was buying like a lot of old currencies. I actually have some of them behind me, and that was like my mom always collected currencies growing up in coins. So I was always into that. And then I started buying movie posters, and I started buying Pokemon cards too, because one of the cards I never had growing up was a base set Raichu. I had every single card that you can imagine. I pulled the Charizard, I pulled the Blastoise, pulled the Venusaur. I was super lucky as a kid, but I never pulled the Raichu, and the Raichu is
That
my
was the
chase
one.
card. And I remember being a kid and getting a Zap theme deck because I was like, I'm going to get a Zap theme deck because there's going to be a Raichu in there, and I'm finally going to get my Raichu. And I remember going to Toys R Us, and they would always have like the 2-player starter decks. Could never get the Zap theme deck. Finally got the Zap theme deck. Bring it home, open it up. Didn't know it came with a Mewtwo. Thought it came with a Raichu this whole time. So like,
Disappointed.
I vividly remember that as a kid. But so because that was the card I never had growing up, when I first got back into the hobby, I just bought up every single base set Raichu that was on eBay at the time. And I was probably way overspending at the time. And that just kind of compounded, and I started buying other stuff. But I wasn't just, strictly focusing on Pokemon. But while the movie posters and the currencies and the coins, all that stuff stopped, the Pokemon kept going. And then I was just doing it all the way up until the boom. And then here we are today.
And I saw the story or I heard the story of you working in the oil fields, living in the main camp, and you said that was your point at which you got back into Pokemon.
Yeah.
But that didn't answer the question for me. There had to be something that happened. Did somebody open a pack in front of you? Did somebody have a card? Like what was the trigger?
Sheer boredom. The absolute definition of sheer boredom. Like I would go on and just buy, you name it. Like I still to this day have the posters that I bought. Like one of the posters is a Little Giants poster. I went hard.
Oh, that's a good movie. Yeah.
You know it. Like anything that was from my childhood, because I was bored, and a lot of the guys I hung out with were a lot of the engineers and stuff, and the engineers were all the same type of nerds that everybody out here is, but they just happened to be nerds but already had 2-3 years of experience working, so they had huge incomes. These guys had every single toy imaginable when you go to their houses. Like they had big houses, and they would have crazy like setups for movies and video games and you name it. These guys spent money like it was going out of style. So because it became a little accepted to like buy this more, call it niche-y, nerdy type stuff. So that was kind of the reason. But yeah, it just came out of sheer boredom. And I don't think anybody else was doing Pokemon. That was just me. So.
Oh, okay. I was always curious if there was anybody else that you were joining forces with.
Nope.
Or okay.
I can't remember having one conversation like about it outside of like maybe just getting a couple packages. So.
This reminds me a lot when I was in the military. As I was in the military and getting into base camp, like you were single, you had money coming in, like it was like, what are you gonna do with it? You're living in the barracks, and you just blow the money on whatever.
Yeah. So our original man camp when I first started was an old dentist office. A company came in, they knocked down all the walls and they built a bunch of bedrooms, and then we all like had a few bathrooms we shared, and the halls were super poorly done. They were like kind of zigzaggy and stuff, but it was more or less like a slumlord type house that they just gutted and put bedrooms in. And then so there you had to buy your own food. But after the fact, when they built the man camps for my company, were like big, huge, long, like trailers. They were all connected, like huge hallways and stuff. And then everybody had their own room, own bathroom. And then at that man camp, there was a dining hall. So there was a period of time in my life where I didn't pay for housing and I didn't pay for food. And that's most people's two main expenses. So all I did was just work my ass off, make money, and buy stupid shit online. And
this sounds exactly like the military.
But one of the things about Pokemon cards was most things take up a lot of space. And when you're in a little man camp room, you run out of space quick.
Real problem.
Yeah. It's just a bedroom and a bathroom at that point. There's nothing else. And you have like a dresser. So space was very valuable. And maybe that also helped compound on the effects of like why I was able to go after Pokemon, because you can get the most of that and in the most condensed way possible. So
fair point.
I never really thought about that until just now, but that was probably a factor.
Well, it's nostalgic, man. You go, what did I love when I was a kid? Let me buy some Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
Great story, man. Great story. And let me ask you one thing. Other than the girls, was it just the girls in high school that got you out of it, or did base set too? Really? 'Cause I can't fathom that you would be a guy at that age that would say, "Hey, they're already reprinting. I'm out. Forget it." Like,
I
really?
think you're. I think it's just. I think sports probably had a lot to do with it too. You know, I
Okay.
think you
Okay.
just. I think you're gonna probably flock to whatever your friends are doing. At the
Exactly.
time, and
Yeah.
you're just in a way in high school and middle school, you're gonna probably in a way go with the herd mentality. But I also think like your brain is still like changing and growing, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you're in middle school, that's gonna be where your brain is really changing the most. So you're not really probably making informed decisions too. And at the end of the day,
No.
it was a child's card game, a child television show. Like if you ever go back and
It
watch
still
the
is.
anime, it's a struggle. It's the same way as I love Ninja Turtles growing up. Go back and watch season 1, season 2, season 3 of the Ninja Turtles. It's rough. I like lived off that stuff when I was a little kid. So I think your brain just changes, adapts, and yeah, just Pokemon, I grew out of it. And then yeah, just rediscovering it. And I guess in a way it was rediscovering maybe nostalgia. Yeah, there you go. Everyone's got their
Uh,
Ninja Turtles growing up.
Yeah, this is the can I pulled next to me when I was talking to Professor Oak. I still have it sitting here. And back to your point on watching some of the older episodes. Maybe it's just me, but
Hmm.
man, I love them. I'm watching them with my kids now,
Yeah,
and
that's good.
I'm thrilled, man. I can't get enough of it. I was just sitting right now watching the episode. Shout out to Professor Oak.
Yeah, I muted that sneeze though. So shout out to Professor Oak. I am going through this mic, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you. Yeah, yeah, but you didn't mute it though.
I didn't mute.
No, no.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going through my I wonder if I'm going through my webcam.
It sounds
Sounds
like
fine.
your main microphone. Yeah, it doesn't sound
Okay,
like a
okay.
webcam-y type of microphone, so it sounds good. But yeah. So, anyways, I was just what. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
I can hear them. I was just watching the episode with Leon and fighting with Charizard and Pikachu just now before I came upstairs with the kids.
Oh,
So I mean,
from Sword and Shield, you mean? So like a
yeah,
new
yeah,
new
yeah.
season.
Not
Yeah,
not the new ones, but yeah, I love it. It's
yeah.
it's it's so much fun. So much fun. All right, all right. So we'll move on, but before we do, you were in the oil camps or the oil fields. You
Yeah.
were in the man camps. You transitioned into what? So how did your actual career evolve from there? Can you kind of give us a little bit of an inkling?
Yeah, so I guess it was at this point, end of 2015, price of oil dropped. A lot of people got laid off. I was very lucky. I
2015.
wasn't one of
Okay.
the people that got laid off, but the work slowed down. And then because it was slowing down, the first thing they did was they stopped matching our 401k. Then it was a company wide, everyone was going to take
Wow.
pay cuts. So I just said, hey, I'm not from North Dakota. I'm only out here to make money. I got some experience now. So I applied to a different like field, still within geology. Uh, I got upset at my company on a Friday. I got a call from the company I now work for the last 7 years. I got a call on Monday. So it wasn't, it like a lot of people are like, oh, it's tough to find a job. Nope. It was Friday. I sent out my resume and I created a resume on Indeed that Friday. And on
In
Indeed, you could just
2015.
do one click, submit resume. And I just one click, like a bunch of jobs, got this call, flew out. Week later, I got an offer for more than I asked for. And 7 years later, here I am. And I love it. So
Okay. Can you tell us what you're doing now
I'm in
in terms of like
consulting. Yeah.
consulting? Okay.
Yep.
But is it in like geology specifically or?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. I deal with a
Okay.
lot of stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. I'm usually
Well,
like
before
pretty
we,
broad with like what I do. Yeah.
yeah, no, no worries, no worries, no worries. I'm actually in the, despite my background, I'm in the color industry. So we work in a chemical and dye manufacturing company, and
Okay. Yeah.
so we,
So
we create color
yeah, are
and
you?
dyes.
Yeah. So I'm familiar. Are you guys like considered like a large waste generator and stuff like that? Do you
Yeah,
know any? Yeah.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
know like a lot of the regulations and the codes for like what you guys deal with and how
yeah,
to, transport the material, how to if you have a leak, if
exactly.
you secondary containment, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've heard you make a few comments many times. So I
Okay.
was like, yeah, he's in the chemical industry or something.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
do a lot of the oversight
Yeah.
for stuff like this, like how for you to transport your waste to and from, and then if you have a release, how to handle it, and then
Yeah.
removal, like from beginning to end kind of stuff. Like,
Okay. Yeah. So, and specifically, we're in textiles and paper. So if you go pick up an article of clothing, Victoria's Secret, Target, Nike, you name it, we make the color for the things you pick up in the store. So that's
Okay.
pretty much simplistic way of describing it. But yeah.
yes.
So before we jump to the next topic, lots of great comments, lots of great things to note. Let me give a few shout outs. The earliest one here was actually, I think it was somebody else, but for whatever reason, YouTube removed the comment, but it was Chef. So the one that I can actually see was Chef. So Chef, great to see you here, my friend. We got Pokey Kid, we got Namp90. So many great people here. I was just trying to find out where I left off in the chat. We got Giovanni's Pikachu, Pokey Kid here. Colmanian, Seasoned Salt, Chevals. I'll put this one up. It doesn't show the emojis, unfortunately, here, but
Pew, pew.
pew, pew, pew. I'll watch that one today.
Yeah, I've done that a
was
few
good.
times now, and every time it gets
Yeah.
a little bit better. So
Yeah, it was good today. It was good. I liked it. And he says PK response.
I know for a lot of people, you were like commenting on some of my older videos. I saw it come up on my YouTube studio, and
Yep.
I know you watch a lot of people's content. You must have looked at my backlog of lives and been like, I don't have this much time in my life to listen to all.
I had to pick. I looked when I was doing research. I'm like, oh my god, I thought Josh the Green Shivs was bad, but I was like, oh Lord, this is gonna be tough.
There's
So
thousands.
I had to pick and choose.
There's thousands of hours worth of videos. It's wild. Like, shout out to number one mod in the game, Drew. Like, he's been around for all of them. I don't know how he does it.
Well, and to be honest, I thought, as we're having the live with PK, I can't have a live with PK without having Drew as the number one mod, also as a mod in this chat. So, Drew, if you didn't notice already, you by default today were a mod in the chat. So, when PK is on the channel, then you automatically get the privilege. So, if you're there. But I had to pick and choose what videos I watched because I just couldn't. I had to look at the thumbnails. I'm like, okay, I got to pick and choose what I'm going to see. Now, I've been watching you for more than a year and everything you've done, but there was so much before that I could not catch up on. So yeah, for sure.
It's wild. I went back and I looked and I tried to do like a highlight reel for my video or for my channel.
The 10-year?
What was that?
The 10-year one?
No, just it hasn't been 10 years, but 6,969 subscribers. I was gonna do a little montage.
Oh yeah.
And I'm still working on it, so that will come out. I have no timeline.
Okay.
So
no, it was the 10-year. You did one for 10 years in the hobby, is what you did, and I watched that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a great recap. That helped a lot.
Yeah, I don't even remember that video. If you could probably name like 100 of the videos I did, and I'll go, I don't know what I said in that video.
I have no idea. What if PK started saying "and"? Welcome back.
And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, I'm going to be interviewed by Pokemon Wonder.
We need an official dance intro, Chef. I don't know, man. It's funny you say that, and I won't take a segue too long, but I was trying to dance during. So my wife is Dominican. And New Year's is just as important, if not more, than Christmas Day for us as Americans. And so we were trying to dance in the living room. Her mom was here. We had some music on, and she's like, "You gotta feel the music." I said, "I feel it." She's like, "You gotta hear the beat." I said, "I hear the beat." And she's like, "You gotta move your body." I said, "I think I am, but it's not working."
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so we tried, but Chef, you don't want to see me dance is the answer to this question. You don't want to see it. Who we got here? Alice in Silverland. Welcome. Glad to have you. Always happy to have new members to the chat. We got Thrifty in here. Hey, Thrifty. Good to see you. As deep as fracking. I love it.
Yes. I could rant about fracking for a while. So.
Hey, Drew. Welcome, my friend. Glad to have you here as well. Glad to have you, my friend. So many good ones here. I saw. I don't want to skip over anybody's comments, but we got Drew here with a loving the intro, right? And Ernie, thank you so much. Much appreciated. You didn't have to do that, but deeply grateful. We got the infamous Terry Lake in the house, Terry Bear, as you call him. Great conversation with Terry.
Yeah, that was a good
It
conversation. I like Terry a lot. It's funny. On my first ever live, I think one of the ways I started talking to Terry on my first ever live, he put a comment as, I'm so I forget exactly how he wrote it, but he's like, my favorite PokeTuber, referring to me. And then Terry started to like go pretty hard on me on a lot of my takes on my videos. So I screenshotted it and I sent it to him on Instagram. And I was like, don't forget Terry. Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't screenshot it. I commented on it like years later because I was doing that compilation video where I was putting everything together, and I read through the comments, and it's funny. There's two awesome comments on that video. One's by Terry, and I commented on it like 3 years after the fact. And I was like, "See this, Terry? I once was your favorite PokeTuber. Don't forget
what
this."
happened?
So,
What happened, Terry?
oh, I don't know. And then one of the second comment on that video, that's an important one, is Drew, number one mod in the game. He writes a comment that says, if you ever need a mod, let me know. And because he commented on that first live,
that was
and
it.
then the rest is history at this point.
Right. I love it. I was going to ask you how Drew became your mod. And
it was from that first ever live. He's been around since forever. I mean, I don't know. He's got to be one of my first 100 subscribers.
I love it. And Terry was too. He mentioned that in our conversation. Yeah, I do want to give one extra shout out to Terry, and that is Terry. I know you mentioned it before when I told you that PK was going to be in this live, and you said you're going to stay up late, you're going to join this live and be here for us. And so for that, Terry, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate Terry Bear. And looking at him, knowing he's an old man, it definitely is harder to call him Terry Bear, but I got to go with it. It's too late now. Sometimes.
So did you not see him before I did the interview? Was that the first face reveal?
He messaged me on Instagram, and I saw a photo with like an older guy and an older woman, and I was like, maybe this is him, maybe it's not. I'm gonna believe it's not, but it was. Appreciate Terry.
Awesome. Felipe, thanks for being a member there. Good to have you here. Felipe, a little sneak peek. He'll be with us, I think, in February. So looking forward to that conversation. Yeah. BB's here. We got Mertz Collectibles, Java Kuma. Java, good to have you. Professor Birch, Gengar's Den, and so many more. Northwoods is here as well. Good to have you with Northwoods. Appreciate you stopping by, my friend. All right, so let's jump in, and then I'll get some more to the comments. So with that being said, PK, I've watched, as I said, a lot of your content, and it's quite impressive because I think you've navigated business, buying, selling, collecting quite well, at least from my perception. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But how would you label yourself?
I'm not a business.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute.
Make that very clear to everyone. I'm not a business.
Well, you still buy and sell. So
I buy and sell.
An aspect of business.
Yeah.
But how would you label yourself as a collector? Are you a graded card guy? Are you just a little bit of everything guy? What's kind of your perspective on how you would describe yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit of everything in a way, but the way if I had to define myself in one way, I'm somebody that uses my knowledge of the hobby to grow my personal collection. So if that means you identifying things that I think are undervalued, so I become like a collector, an investor, a flipper, I become all these things at once. And it's just because I want to sell the things that don't mean as much to me to add the things that do matter. And one of the things that was one of the turning points in this hobby for me is realizing what I call like collection identity. That's something I've said on my channel on many different times.
It's ironic. That's my next point.
Okay. And it's all about collection identity. So collection identity could be different for everybody. For some people, that could be, I need one of every single Pokemon card ever printed. That's not me. Mine is, I want to just collect the cards that I love, cards that are special to me, sets that I like, and the cards that are meaningless or the sets that are meaningless to me, I'm going to pass on those.
Yeah.
So that was a big turning point for me when I realized that. So that's how.
And I'll be 100% honest. I was, and I'm gonna get into set, or collection identity because it's actually quite a big point in my mind, and maybe it's more relevant because of its recent impact on me. Because I started off quite naively thinking I was gonna collect every set,
Every
and
second.
I was good. I mean, I had 15,000 cards plus in my set collection. I had fulfilled most of Sword and Shield. I was working my way backwards. Making sure I kept up to date with Scarlet and Violet. But one of the things I realized very quickly was it wasn't as enjoyable as it could be and should be. And something rung in it. I wasn't watching your video at the time. It wasn't like you had just said the words, but your idea of collection identity really rung in the back of my mind. I'm like, ah, man. All right. So what is my identity? What is it I'm trying to achieve? And so that actually forced me to change my collection approach in the past 3 or 4 months, maybe 4 months. And so I definitely want to talk about that. But would you mind speaking a little bit to what you would describe collection identity to be? What would be your generic description of that?
It's whatever you like, whatever you care about in the hobby. If you're a sealed collector, it means sealed. If you're a pack collector, it means packs. If you're a raw collector, it means you're raw. If you're graded, it's graded. If you're a set collector, set collector. It's just whatever you enjoy in this hobby, whatever. Like the worst thing that I hear people say is when I say, well, I'll hear people say, oh, I look at my collection and I don't even like it anymore. I don't like these
Right.
cards, or I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm so far from that. Like anytime I look at things that are part of my collection, I care about every single one of
Feel
them.
good about it.
And if I don't care about it, then I'm going to push that through, whether that's eBay or a different platform, and free up that capital and then acquire something that I do care about. Like that background, when I look at it, every single thing on that shelf has a story. Everything, single thing on that shelf, like gives me enjoyment and like gives me pleasure from this hobby. So all that stuff is important. So when I look at it, I get the enjoyment out of it. If I started to look at that stuff and said, none of this means anything to me, then the way I think about it is just, I got to get it out of here and bring something else in. Now, I say that, but I'm just going to let you know too that practicality and actual like doing that,
Reality.
this camera is very focused right now. But
Yep.
if I were to
Same
pan
here.
this camera this way and pan this camera that way, there's a reason I could pull anything while I sit in this seat. Like you,
Yep.
it's
From heat guns to custom made boxes with thousands of slabs in it made
Yeah.
from your kid's swing set. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I got everything. So yeah, but that would be the way
Yep.
I would define it. Now, whether or not I'm good at like implementing that to 100% is probably a no, but that's how I would define
Right.
it.
And that's exactly what I experienced because I was flipping through a binder and don't quote me on this not being maybe Scarlet and Violet, but I was flipping through Scarlet and Violet binder. I'm like, I'm almost done with the set. This is base set. And I'm like, but I don't like most of the cards here.
Mm.
There's
That's a
like
tough one.
3 cards that I like. Why am I trying to finish this set? And so I took a step back and I said, well, let me instead collect what I like. And so then I asked myself, what do I like? So yeah, let's dive a little bit more into that and kind of dig deeper. Why do you think, and obviously we touched on it a little bit already, but why do you think collection identity is so important
It's enjoyment.
to somebody else?
It's
I'm sorry?
enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's just like, you ever hear that saying at work? If you love your job, it's like you never work a day in your life. It's the same thing
Yes.
in Pokemon.
Yeah.
If you love what you're doing, then I guess maybe a better way to explain it in Pokemon is I hear a lot of people use the word burnout. Like people just
Yeah.
go so hard, so fast at
Yeah.
this hobby, especially the people that entered, call it during the pandemic time. So 2020, 2021, they just went so hard because they felt they had to play this game of catch up. And they were looking at other people's collections and they're saying,
Right.
look at how much this guy has. there's no way I could get to that. The only way I could do that is I have to jump 12 steps ahead and just spend all this money, and then they get burned out. So
Right.
in Pokemon, I feel like the only way you could avoid that, like some people say eventual burnout. And while I think there's always some burnout that will happen, only way to really mitigate that to like your best ability is to enjoy everything you are buying. And if you really enjoy it and it gives you passion, like everyone makes the joke of, if everything that I'm collecting goes to zero, I don't care. That's probably not really truly the truth, you know? But if there was a little shred of truth to that, just even a minuscule amount, that if everything truly went to zero, if you truly didn't care, then you're doing this hobby right. Now, the question is, once you get to a certain size collection, you don't want everything to go to zero, because then you start to look at how much capital you have tied up, and you're like, I have college educations tied up
Right.
if everything goes to zero. So that's when
True.
it's sketchy
True.
at that point. But
Yeah. There's always an overlap of what you spent to get there. That's
yeah,
for sure.
and shout out to Rusty TCA Gaming.
Yeah.
Amazing pickup he had today. I don't know. I don't want to spoil his video.
I missed it. I missed it.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it. His last
Okay.
card that he shows on today's video is a grail of grails, my personal all-time chase. So happy for Rusty. Couldn't happen to a better guy. But, you
I have
know,
to check it out.
even Rusty doesn't want everything to go to zero, and he loves it as much as anybody. So, yeah.
And then another shout out. I saw one from Ray at Shining Cards and Collectibles today. He had a Blastoise from the theme deck.
Oh,
And,
from
man,
the Trainer B deck? Trainer B
yeah,
Blastoise.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, Trainer B deck. Yeah, it was so nice. I was like, oh, he said, DM me if you're interested. I'm interested, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely some nice pieces.
I'm trying to think, is the Machamp from player? Oh wait, is it the Blastoise? Yeah, I think the Blastoise player or Trainer B deck. Somebody could let us know, and if the Machamp's A, I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah,
but still, very cool card. Both those cards, both of them, only being available as hollows. So the only way you could get those cards as non-hollows are through those two theme decks. So very cool little thing.
Yeah, Sterling G says Machamp A. Yeah.
Yeah. So Blastoise is B.
B.
Yep, I was right. Yeah. See, this is what happens when you double question yourself sometimes. Yeah, I should have knew because the Squirtle's from B, but yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't think people realize going live all the time, and you're doing it a lot, I see. But when you go live, like, you have to really think on the fly sometimes, and sometimes it takes a second to recall.
It doesn't. Yeah. To pull things out and connect all the dots is not so easy, and then keep up a chat, keep up with the conversation. It's not easy, man. It's not easy.
Yeah, I always say I've forgotten more about Pokemon than I know about Pokemon. So, like, that just gives you an understanding of how much there is in this hobby.
It's a good thing you didn't name yourself Pokemon Current Knowledge.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I actually. So it's cool to be on the other side of the screen where more I'm answering questions and talking about myself instead of asking the questions. But I don't enjoy the name that I have on my channel.
Why?
But it's just, yeah, because I felt like it at the time when I first created my channel. I was bored sitting around my house, and I just was like, oh, I'll do knowledgeable videos, like talk about some of the things I know about this hobby. And then it just quickly rolled into me ranting, which is the name of this podcast. But and then the rants just rolled into whatever the heck I do now. I don't even know. Like, I turn on the camera sometimes. I'm just like, let's see where we go tonight. And then I'll turn off the live sometimes. I'm like, what the hell just happened? I'm just like, whoa. So, but
I love it.
That's why I go by PK now. And shout out to Basic Trainer. If Basic Trainer's out there watching this, Basic Trainer gave me the name PK. And we were talking before this live started. I don't know why PK rolls off the tongue so well, but it really does. Like,
yeah.
Some people are just their names,
Yeah. When I think of you, I think of just PK, and it's just so easy to say. And I think that'll be, for me, at least, your name forever.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to catch a few of these, and I just noticed that also Drew dropped 10 of the membership. So
Drew dropped 15, actually. Dropped 10, and then another 5 later, yep.
Ah, Drew, man. Thank you so much, man. I'm going through the chat on this side, and I'm looking at the live chat on the left. So I'm still catching up. Still catching up. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. So we got Ian in here. We got James. We got Pokefish, Pokey Steve, Peek That Chew. Good to have you. We got Beerski in here. Just your
I
average
love Bearsky.
player. We got rock stars in here. I love it. I love it. Max Wolf is in here as well. The Green Shiz. What's up, bud? Good to see you, Josh. I don't know. That's one where I think is the opposite. I think Josh rolls off the tongue better than the Green Shiz.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the opposite.
Well, that's how
Let's
Drew's
see.
number one mod. I don't think he could be Drew. He's just number one mod. It's funny when I was at Charlotte Collecticon, there was another Drew at Charlotte Collecticon, and he was introducing himself to people as not number one mod. he was like, "Hey, I'm Drew, not number one mod." That's what he kept saying to people because everyone
He
was
was
asking if
there.
he was
I
number
missed
one.
him. I didn't realize how many people I missed at Charlotte. I mean, I saw you, I saw Nick, I saw Dan, I saw Ponga. I tried to meet as many people as I could, but I had the two kids, I had the wife. I didn't realize how many people I missed. It was probably another double of what I
Yeah,
actually met. It was
yeah.
so many great people at Charlotte. I missed it all, unfortunately.
Charlotte was one of the best times I've had in this hobby for sure. So
Well, we'll have to make this coming year even just as good, hopefully.
yeah,
We're the man champs in North Dakota, another state. My cousin would commute man camps. I'm sorry, man camps back in North Dakota, fracking site and bankroll.
yeah. So
Yeah, I mean,
they were located in North Dakota in the town that our
yeah.
main building was located in, and everything was company paid, so I didn't pay a dime. So
And you can see how deep I am in the Pokemon when I read the word camps and I say champ.
yeah,
Machamp,
yeah.
Machamp. It just everything is converted to Pokemon for me now, so I'm screwed.
Oh yeah.
All right,
I find myself thinking about Pokemon more and more as I
we're we're
get
we're,
as the day goes by.
we're gonna dive deep. I didn't ask you before this live started. Do you have any time limit?
I mean, I'll let you know. I can't stay up forever, but we'll see where it goes.
Okay, all right,
I might
because
have to take a bathroom break. Like I've been drinking
okay.
water the whole night, so
Okay. All right, no worries. But yeah, we're just getting started. I have a feeling this is gonna be a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, much appreciated, Max. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I just got it done today. The kids actually needed their haircut, so I had to get mine at the same time. So, yeah, appreciate it, buddy. All right, so let's jump in and we'll get back to more of some of the conversation here. When we think about back to set identity for just a minute or collection identity, what I'm not clear when I watch your content, I know things you like, I know things that you're buying for yourself or things that you want to buy in the future, but what is your collection identity today?
Yeah, so anything that's behind me is part of my personal collection.
How would you describe it? Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I can hear you.
I mean, if I had to describe it with like one word, nostalgia, I guess. But
Okay.
that would be the way I would describe what's behind me is just most of that stuff is nostalgic in some way. But as for my Pokemon collection, like I have just boxes of base set Raichus, more Raichus than any one man should own. And then when it comes to set identity, like the only set, well, I have two complete, well, not complete. I'm missing a few cards for one of them, but I have my original 102 base set cards, like my original cards growing
Nice.
up with the exception of the Raichu. I had to acquire that later. And one of the things that I am a little bummed out is I don't know which was the first one I bought either.
Uh,
So
okay.
that's just got lost to time, and I wish I could be like, yeah, this was the first
This
one
is
I
the
bought.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could guess. I know it was probably like an unlimited card. It was probably like in light play to,
To medium.
damage, but I have I have too many like 2s through 7s to be able to like define which one. And then as for sets, the set that I'm going after is one of my big collection goals is a complete Skyridge Master set. So
Yeah.
Sky,
Yeah.
yeah. So
You've been working on
Skyridge
that for
is
a
a
while,
big,
but it's graded though, right?
yep, graded and with a
Yeah.
minimum grade of 9. So that means 9 or 10. Ideally PSA. I mean, I would be okay with film like some temporary holes with like CGC or BGS, But Skyridge is a big set. So you got 144 cards in the base set, and then you have each one of those cards in reverse. So that's 288 cards between those
Master set.
104 or
Yeah.
144. Then you have the hollows in that set are H's, and it goes from H1 to H32. So then you add another 32 in the hollows. Then Skyridge has 5 reverse hollows in it. And then each one of those reverse hollows is both a hollow and a reverse hollow. So you add another 10. So it's a massive goal. And to complete that in a 9 or 10, I have
big.
no timeline on this goal. This goal might take me 20 years. I
Rest
don't
of your
care.
life.
I got a lot. Put it that way. I got a lot of duplicates. I've never sold any Skyridge dupes or anything. So, but I have the one card that it's really missing is the Crystal Charizard, especially in the 10. And the close, I wouldn't say I got close, but I offered Jake from Pokenomics. He has a Skyridge Charizard in the 10. I offered him $9,000 cash for it at the Denver Collecticon, and he kind of laughed me out of the building. But I thought maybe with a cash deal at $9,000, just like bunch of $100 bills today, Jake, let me walk away with this card. And he said no. And at the time, the sales for that card were right around $15,000. They're selling pretty strong. I know they've pulled back a little bit, and you might get lucky and be able to pick it up around like 10 or 11-ish. But I'm never a buyer of a card like that at market. Like my $9,000 offer wouldn't be out there anymore. Now it would be like at 8 or 7. So
All right. So would you put that Skyridge collection at the pinnacle of your collection identity at this moment?
Sure. I guess that I mean, it's hard to put anything at a pinnacle of anything, but I would say, yeah, it's definitely up there. It's one of the things that I'm actively chasing, and I'm enjoying it though. And it's not about, I mean, if I wanted to, I could probably go on eBay right now and search every single reverse hollow that I'm missing in a 9 or 10 and just wipe out all the buy it nows right now and like complete most of that goal. But I have no intention of that. I'm going to wait for the Z&G auctions or the DC Sports or the PWCC or the Probstein auctions, and I'm going to wait, and I'm just going to buy it that way. And if it means waiting 10 years, so be it. Like, because I enjoy it. It goes back to your earlier question and what I mentioned. It's you got to enjoy what you're doing. And man, I enjoy the hunt just as much as I love anything. So.
Well, if you can catch one of the green shizzes unloading at dollar slabs, you might be able to fulfill the majority of this collection.
Yeah.
And he still comes out with a profit. Amazing. Before we go any further, one thing I wanted to know, because I was looking, and going back to the point of me looking through all your videos, have you done an interview with anybody? Because I can't find it.
Have I done a one-on-one interview with people?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on I did a trainer spotlight on Josh the Old Card Shop.
Okay.
So I did his trainer spotlight. Oh man, I've been on a few.
Okay. All right. You've been on. I just when I was searching for it, I just couldn't find. I'm like, has he not been on one? I'm sure that he has.
Yeah.
I'm just not finding it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been a guest on a lot of channels before. I've been on a lot of channels. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then I just didn't do a good job searching.
Yeah. Like the Poke Flips, I wouldn't really call that an interview so much, but I was on one of the Poke Flips. I've been on Dan Ketchmall's Collectibles channel a couple times.
Okay.
I've been on Josh the Green Chiz's channel a couple times.
Okay. All right. Then I just didn't find it. Then.
The Rattle, okay. I've been on Rattle's channel a few times. So a decent. Pokenomics, I've been on his a couple times. So.
Okay. Then I was looking. I'm like, is this just me, or has he not been on any interviews? And I just can't find him, because that was part of my research. I was like, well, I can't find anything here. I guess I'm gonna have to watch all of his lives.
Shout out to Peak That Chew. I've been on Peak That Chew's channel too. So
nice.
I've made my rounds, and I'm sure I'm forgetting some. People are gonna get mad, but sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. If you remember, feel free to shout it out. Keeping on the thought of collections, one of the things I really liked that you were doing was you were, or still are actually, buying one of every booster box for both you and your son, or your kids, I should say, both your kids.
Yeah.
Because originally it was just you and your original son. Now you've doubled that. So how's that collection journey going? Are you trying to backtrack to previously released sets, or it's only since they were born and anything released
Yeah,
after that
anything.
point?
So my first son got
Okay.
lucky. He was born right before Evolving Skies, so he's got a sweet Evolving Skies sitting in his collection.
Nice, nice.
And I doubled it for each of them. So even though the second came a little later, he
Okay,
came, I want to say, right around Paldea Evolved. So they just each
okay.
got one of each. So they
All
each
right.
got a Sky, or oh my God, I almost said it. They each got a Skyridge booster box.
I was
No,
like,
they
nice.
both don't. No, no. They both got Evolving Skies booster boxes all the way back to Evolving Skies. And to be
Nice.
honest with you, I could go back to Rebel Clash because I just picked up 4 of Rebel Clash booster boxes. The only set that I do not have 3 booster box of would be Sword and Shield. So
Base. Yeah.
yeah, base. So I could, in theory, go back to Rebel Clash for them, and maybe I will. So
Nice.
but
That's something I really liked, and it was very interesting to hear that perspective. Do
yeah.
you anticipate in any outcomes from that effort? Like when they're old enough to understand what you have, I don't know what age you're thinking, 18, 16, I don't know, 20. What do you expect when you hand that over to them? What are your thoughts? Because I know you've thought about that a lot.
Yeah, I'm really big into my kids liking Pokemon, whether they want to or not. Um, I've said this publicly on many of occasions where some parents are like that sport parent where like their kids resent them because they make them play all
Yeah,
these sports and stuff. I'm
it's gonna
gonna
be
be
you
the
with
parent
Pokemon.
that makes my kid like Pokemon way too much. But one of the advices I give people is if you have a kid at home right now, create an create an eBay page for them today. As soon as this live is over, go on eBay, sign up for another eBay account, and just buy stuff on it because you're going to give your kid 2 things in the future. You're going to give them an account with a ton of feedback, but more importantly than anything, you're going to give them an eBay account that is going to
Mm,
be like a really, really old eBay account. So if you start it in 2024, when your kid turns 18, they're going to have a eBay account that has been around for 18 years. You click on any eBay account and they've been around for 18 years, you instantly are not worried about buying for them. In fact, I don't even think you can find an eBay. Well, maybe you could. eBay started in 93-ish. So, but still, if your kid
that's a
has
good
an
one.
18-year-old eBay account, and even if you give them 100 or 200 feedback just as a buyer, you don't have to worry about taxes or anything as a seller. You will set them up for success because if your kid's going to be like my kid, I'm going to give them like some seed money when they get older and some product and be like, if you want to work for this, you can make an income from just what I will give you. So, yeah.
And here we go. Good luck. I can never get my son on board, but my daughter is. Yeah, from
Yeah.
Chef.
I got 2
The,
kids, so maybe one of them will be on board, one of them won't. So we'll know who
the,
the
the,
favorite is in a couple of years.
the key is to deprive them of it just enough to make them want it.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then that's it. So you can't give them all the booster boxes at once. You have to just say, well, you didn't earn it, son, and then they're gonna want it. I'm trying to keep up with some of the relevant stuff here as well. It's too bad that the emojis don't show up here, but Max Wolf using the Raichu emoji here. Unfortunately, it doesn't show up. All right, but keeping on the same thought process, looking at the kids, and are you adding anything else to the collection? Are you adding some other TCGs? Obviously, typical financial investments, I'm sure, but anything outside of that?
Yeah, so both my kids have 529s that I set them up. I set them up with them through my brokerage. But
Yeah,
uh, as for other TCGs, no. I was planning on like putting away certain graded cards for them for certain milestones. When I had Pokemon
yeah.
Classics on my channel, we talked about this, and I was gonna call it my dowry to them. But it just, to be honest with you, it hasn't really worked out the way I was planning on it. Like I've put the booster boxes aside, but I have not put the graded cards aside, and that's something that I'm slacking on a little bit. But the only cards that I'm really going to probably put aside for them are the cards they pull themselves, out of their packs. So
Well, the Green Shiz thinks they're gonna be MetaZoo fans.
Yeah, I don't think MetaZoo will be around that and for that long, let alone next year to get to their age.
Well, they're gonna get Dad's opinion on MetaZoo when they watched his short reel on Instagram, opening his MetaZoo pack and
Oh yeah, with the shredder. Yeah, that video actually aged really well now that we know what's happening with MetaZoo. Some of my videos
that was
aged poorly.
hilarious.
That one aged well.
That was I love that one. That was we'll talk about some others that I love later, but that was a great one. I was like, what is he doing? But talking about other TCGs, are you into too many more? You mentioned a few every now and then, but it's rarely a focus of your conversation. But
Yeah,
behind the scenes, are you into more?
I love dead TCGs. So any boost, mainly sealed. I don't really collect like
Okay,
raw for other
like open,
TCGs,
bro.
but I love dead TCGs. I'll buy up booster boxes of just stuff I've never heard of. I'll just be searching eBay and I'm like, this is one I don't have, and I'll just stick it on the
Buy
shelf
it.
back there and part of my collection. But as for actively collecting, no, no other TCGs. I just don't have the time. Pokemon requires a lot of my time and a lot of my mental capability. So I can
But
only,
it goes back to my intro. The amount of time you spend thinking, I can only imagine you sitting there at work and just drifting off in thought and applying anything and everything to Pokemon and thinking about this and that, what's next, and
yeah, I
I,
don't,
I
I
wonder
don't
what's
have,
going through your brain.
luckily I don't have like much downtime at work. Like I have
Okay,
the ability to like listen at work so I could put my headphones in. So I'm always in a way maybe processing information, but I don't know, I don't really have
you're
much
not in
time
deep
to
thought.
think.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, all
I'm
right.
just too focused on other stuff. There's always a flyer to put out, always something going on. There's only so many hours in the day, so many minutes, so many seconds, and I don't have enough of any of those three things, hours, minutes, or seconds.
Those are what we're all in scarcity of. That's for
Yeah.
sure. So we got Andy here talking about when you got three kids all fighting for packs, it's way too expensive. And I agree with you only with two. I have two, and they're always fighting. Well, actually, if you count my wife, not as a child, of course, but three people fighting for packs, yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah. So
Fully agree with you.
real quick, Danny asked, how do you deal with sales tax on your kid's account? No, you set up
Yep.
an eBay account and you use that as your buying account. So you give them like 200 feedback, and anytime you buy from any Pokemon guys, you buy from Nick Old School Pokemon, Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles, all these guys, TCA Game, and they, um, P Football, P, all those guys, they're automatic positive feedback. So as long as you buy that item, you instantly get that feedback. So when you would create your kids account, you don't want to worry about tax at all. It's just a buying account. Get that feedback score up. And then when they're ready to sell, you just need like a handful of sales to show that they
Yeah.
have some sales. So
And the good news is, PK, after all those years of effort, an 18-year-old account, they're going to ruin it in one transaction.
oh yeah. Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Oh, here's all the resealed stuff that my dad's been talking about for all these
Yeah.
years." So,
Dad, I sent them a pack of GI Joe cards and they ordered a base set. Is that a wrong thing? Like,
yeah.
is it? Why did I get
At
bad
that
feedback,
point, I would
Dad?
be like, "Whoa, those GI Joe cards are from '91. those are those are old."
Which goes to the point. You hear back to Andy. You know that's why they're gonna like GI Joe. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Um, you mentioned it, and I do want to poke at that a little bit because I was curious. Back to the business perspective, you said you don't have a business, so you actually don't have any business structured behind your Pokemon hobby, the buying, the selling, the collecting. There's nothing behind that. That's hard for me to believe.
So when you said, "Are there any questions I'll pass on?" That will be one that I'll kind of pass on. So
Okay.
there's
All
stuff
right.
that it exists, but like,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
We'll move on. All right, we'll move on. Let me then just maybe talk about it more from a selling perspective, not
yeah.
necessarily business perspective. So, how did 2023 end up for you? You did, I'm sure, a lot through 2023. You were in some collecticons. How did you finish up in that year? Did you see it as very profitable? Did you finish at a loss? How did you see the year end for you?
So the end of the year was a big
Yeah.
win. But
Okay.
I would say overall 2023 has been an acquisition year for me. So I've been really acquiring as much as I can, because especially as of late, and then selling. I would say probably starting around middle of 2023 is when I really like started to try to sell a lot harder, just to because I saw what was happening with the market, and I felt like we were going to get a lot of buying opportunities. And I think that that has actually been one of those things that have
Right.
played out pretty well, because I think we are in that time right now, especially auctions. A lot of stuff is going cheap. So I spent the
Yeah.
second half of 2023 really becoming liquid in this hobby. So freeing up as much capital as I could. So when I felt that the market did make the turn, which we are right now, that now would be what I call the acquisition phase. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
2023 has been good. It wasn't 2020, 2021 levels, but it's been good. So,
Positive nonetheless, right? Positive
mm,
nonetheless. And I'm gonna actually touch on many of the topics because I know, well, at least I anticipate where some of this is gonna go. So all the things you just kind of mentioned, whether it be liquidity and everything else, we're gonna dive into that.
sure.
But as we do, well, before we do, I should say. So Max asks us, do you have any kind of advice for building up an eBay account for your kids, his future kids?
Yeah,
Any
immediately start it.
advice?
Immediately
Start it
start it
now.
right now, today,
Start it now.
tomorrow.
Buy now. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as
Yep.
this live's over, on your screen, if you got dual monitors, put this live on one monitor and start setting up that eBay account on the other. Like, the sooner the better.
Yep.
Uh, create an create a separate email account that's just for that account. Use your kid's name, whatever your kid's name is, Bill Smith at gmail.com, at yahoo.com. Don't do an at AOL.com, but whatever. Just set up their name and just keep it separate. Just buy on it. Like, the problem I run into is I forget to log on to my kids sometimes. So when I'm buying stuff, and I'll buy stuff on like the wrong account and be like, oh crap, like I don't want this feedback
I
on my
missed it.
what am yeah, like I just did it recently. I created an eBay account just for the channel, because I want to become a little more public with my sales. Like, I try to keep my eBays separate, because
I've noticed that.
I don't want to
Yeah.
use YouTube as like this way to make income. I have my other ways to make income. YouTube is supposed to be fun, so I tried for the longest time to keep that separate. And I was able to, for close to 3 years, keep those two things separate, which I am proud of. But it got to the point where people ask me too many times, like, do your eBay. I didn't have affiliate links. I didn't
Yeah.
have an affiliate link till this
You didn't
year.
have
Like,
memberships or nothing. Like
yeah, no
everything was
memberships, no affiliate
plain
links.
Jane.
I just no box breaks, I just did whatever I could to just not
Yeah.
extract any money from my viewers. I felt I was always fine at extracting money from other areas of the hobby, but I need to keep YouTube and so separate. So if you notice on my YouTube account, or excuse me, on my eBay account, I don't list anything over $100 right now. So I'm still taking the baby steps. If you search, the highest price thing you'll find is $99.99, and then I had a couple random auctions went above 100, but try to keep it separate. And yeah, I don't know. That was kind of a little tangent, but
That's all right. We're within the rants of the rants.
yeah, we're in the
That's
rant. We're deep down. We're in the niches now of the rants. But
that's okay with me. I'm here all
yeah,
night, my friend. Here all night. But going back, and I'll just give a comment between Max and Wolf and all the comments here around this. Um, Look at resellers' accounts. Get your reseller certificate. If you're paying taxes and you're buying stuff, like you guys need to look at other
we
aspects of the hobby
see.
and
This
then
is get your reseller's certificate, unless you're trying to
yeah.
hide from taxes. If you're trying to hide from taxes and hide from the government, be very
I got no
careful
advice for you.
how you're doing stuff. So
Go to a different channel for that. But
yeah,
there's too many easy and good ways for you to do taxes the proper way. And Mr. Terry Lake is one of the great use cases for that. But definitely take a look at reseller certificate, set up your business, and you can probably work things out so that it's in your benefit and it even helps you in your current full-time job. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
I,
But keeping on your business perspective, what do you want to do for 2024, BK? Like, I imagine you have some ideas, some goals in mind from a business let's just call it selling perspective.
I'm not a business.
Um,
I'm not a business.
selling
So
perspective,
I
selling.
just, when it comes to selling, just business as usual. I'm not a business, but keep it trucking, I guess. Just
Okay.
what I feel I'm doing right now is working. Maybe one of the things I need to do is start moving a little bit more of my singles. I'm really bad at that because of just the time
It's a lot of
commit
work.
time
Yeah.
commitment that's revolves around singles. And yeah, I don't really have any plans to change much right now.
Well, I don't know what you know that I don't know, but I've watched
No,
thousands of hours of PK, but I think he's all right.
yeah, everything I do is on the level. It's just,
Yeah, I think it's on up and up.
yeah, it's tax avoidance. Knowing,
As Dan says, that you don't want to do tax evasion, you want to do tax
yeah, it's
avoidance.
tax avoidance. It's not tax evasion. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And just a small comment here, and I've said it in a couple of different streams, but it's been a little while. The I fully agree with you when it comes to selling singles, and the king of this, as we all know, is old school Pokemon Nick. Shout out to Nick if he watches this later. He raw dogged those singles for years, years. But looking at the current state of things in technology, there's no reason you should be taking front and back pictures of your cards, spending the time creating listings. There's too many great tools out there for you to pay somebody to do that for you. And there's lots of great things. I know that Mason, shout out to Mason at Cardinal Gaming. He used it. Shout out to Professor Oak. He
Yeah.
used it, and then I'll help you out here. You're on my podcast, so I have to give the shout outs, I
I
guess.
tried to hit the mute button. I couldn't get there in time.
uh, and he used it, left and went back. But if anybody's looking for managing massive amounts of raw singles, check out your binder POS. It's a great way. They create the listings. They synchronize it to your Shopify store. They synchronize it to your eBay store. They synchronize it to TCG Player. You pay a small premium. No images. Nothing. It's all template. You just do it. Hey, I have 10 of this. It's all done. Created everywhere. So if you're trying to push lots of singles, everybody check those platforms out. I don't have any affiliate links. It's just help for you. And if you want to reach out to us, happy to give you more information. But selling singles individually is a pain. I would never recommend it to anybody.
Yeah,
But
it just
if you have,
yeah,
it
it
depends on how
depends what
many.
you're selling too. But yeah, no, it's a pain.
Yeah, I mean,
It-
if
it-
it's anything, graded cards, you kind of have to do it. If it's, sealed cases, even they do even some sealed, but graded cards is the only thing that I'm willing to create manually. Other than that, everything else I want to be automated.
Yeah,
I want to be automated.
raw cards get tricky. Just you could hide so many issues with the camera. Like that's one of the
Uh,
tricky things too with selling raw. It's just I don't know.
yeah,
It's just it brings up a lot of gray areas, like especially how you lot stuff. You know,
yeah.
eBay accounts. Like, are you using an eBay account that
Hmm.
whenever you sell a binder collection, you only sell it on your separate eBay account that only ever sells all the shit that you have floating around your house that you sell on eBay. Like that should be a separate eBay. And then do you put together a nice looking childhood binder and you sell it as really well worded with really poor photos because every single card is in a binder page. You have it, you take the photo from across the room because some smuck is going to go buy it because he's going to have no clue what you have and they're going to see and then how do you set that binder up? Do you have no modern cards in it? Because if you have one like celebrations card, which everyone likes to throw in a
Yeah.
kid's binder, it's one celebration. It's like, do you know how to stack it? Do you understand timelines? Do you understand how to put the hollows on the first page and then put all the
You gotta
crappy
put the best on the
non-hollows
front.
on the
Yeah.
last 11 pages and just at that point you look for the smucks of the smucks of the smucks on eBay, and like that's where you get into like that real shady area, which is eBay selling. So I stay away from that.
I,
That's my official statement.
I will agree, and we'll move to the next point.
Yeah.
But no, I don't like the whole child binder thing and everybody trying to pitch it like it's some
I see
I've
it every
found
day.
this lost collection, and it's like, no, guys.
I,
I can look at 3 pictures and tell you exactly that's true or false. But
you go look
no,
at their sold listings too, and then you start to
yeah,
realize that they sold that same binder with different cards in it, a few times in the last 6 months.
yeah,
But it is what it
yeah.
is. I mean,
The
it's
real ones are hard to find.
yeah,
Hard to find. So, one of the things, going back to your point on liquidity, PK, you've talked about it and you've preached it in your lives for quite some time now. You want to get liquid, you want to get rid of it. You kind of mentioned it. And I don't want to get to specific numbers, but were you able to reach that goal and
yeah,
hit that liquidity level that you
yeah. I got
wanted to
pretty
be at?
close. I'd say I got within
Okay.
10,000, so that was
Okay.
pretty
Okay.
big. Probably could have
And
got closer, but at come December, I had to give my wife a pretty decent amount of money because she was getting a little upset. Like, okay,
so where's all the money? Where's it
where's all
at?
the
Yeah,
money? So I had
I
to.
think it was one of those lives. You said and forgive me if I'm wrong here, but you sold a set of something. You drove somewhere.
Yep.
You met the guy in person, and you did a good cash deal. And you came back to your wife and said, "Here it is, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Here's the money.
So I
Do with
drove
it
to
as you
Brooklyn.
please."
I drove
Um,
to a card shop in Brooklyn, New York. He was in the market for Sorcery TCG, so I
okay,
had
sorcery. That's what it
backed the
was.
Sorcery TCG Kickstarter. So I had a case of alpha booster boxes and a couple of the pre-con decks, and then like you get a Kickstarter pack. And I sold them just the case of the 6 booster boxes. So it was a nice in-person deal. And then
Yeah.
that helped my wife a little bit, like get off my back.
But I mean, at that point, you've already, to your point, you've reached the majority. You would have actually probably met your goal at that
Yeah, I
point if
probably
you would have
met it.
kept that money.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? What are you looking to buy? What are you in the market for? Because as you rightfully stated, we're in a buyer's market.
Yep.
So
So
what are
that's
you looking for, PK?
honestly that's a great question, and I tried to touch on it live the other day. Is I wanna right now I'm in the market for good deals. Simple. That doesn't mean a certain set. It doesn't mean a certain card. It doesn't mean a certain product. It just means when a good deal comes across, I will pick it up. And I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but if a good deal comes, I will pick it up. That's all I know. Like that's the point I'm at right now in the market. If something I see something, it's a good price, buy. It's that simple. So,
Okay. Okay. Uh, we'll talk about the market a little bit later, and we'll kind of expand upon that a little bit. But I think you rightfully stated, and it's funny how you look at, not you specifically, but we as a whole, we look at the cycle of the year, and we reach the end of the year. Everybody's hitting towards Christmas, the end of the holidays. We're all spending more money than usual, probably, and people start to offload so much at good prices, and you see things just sell, sell, sell. And it's like,
yeah.
man, this is probably some of the best prices all year, in many cases. So it's a good time to buy. Good time to buy.
Yeah. So, one of the things about buying now is, some of the stuff you're buying, like if you just see sales trending down, you could, in theory, be catching that falling knife. So if you're going to find a good
True.
deal, you already have to pad in, okay, even if this thing dropped 50% in the last year, I still need to be 30% lower than that. I need to be 40% lower than that because that now gives me a little buffer room. So if it does retrace another 30%, I'm good. If it retraces another 40%, I'm good. And if it does do another 50% retrace, then at that point, I'm only down 10%. So to have a card where you now are into that card at 50%, or excuse me,
Right.
40% less than recent solds, and it drops 50%, instead of losing 50% at buying at current market, you only lose 10%. Like, but that's good deals. And every day, a good deal, at least one good deal comes and goes on eBay every
Very
single
true.
day.
Very
Now,
true.
does that mean you're just going to be able to go on eBay and be like, I've got 1,000 good deals today? No. On every single Z and G auction block, are you going to find every buy is a good deal? No. On PWCC, is every buy a good deal? No. On DC Sports? No. On Probe Scenes? No. But if you pick up the good deals and you're patient, you will do well. in my opinion, in the coming like future.
Fully agree. Fully agree. I'll make a small comment here with the ordinaire or ordinaire. Uh, I fully agree. If you're taking raw photos, people appreciate that more and they'll be more likely to buy. Um, but the resistance to generic stock photos isn't as bad as you think, and you have to weigh your time. If you're doing 100 cards, okay. If you're doing 10,000 cards, well, that changes things a lot. So you kind of have to look at the perspective of it.
I will, when it comes to stock photos, the way I will put it is, I'm trying to look if I have anything. So I got this and this. So like here's an example of some stuff. Like I graded a lot of these Sleepy Pikas. So
Oh
if
yeah,
I was going
that's
to
one of your
do a stock
favorites. Yeah,
photo of these, I would do one
one.
stock photo
Yeah,
and then sell all my ungradable copies as that. If I had a
yeah,
card like this, which is the Charizard from Platinum Arceus, I think it's
yeah,
1 out of 99. The back is pretty clean.
yeah. It
It's
looks good.
probably in reality though, like an 8, 7 if I'm lucky. You know, this
Hoping
card in
that
an
that big
8.
scratch under the Pokemon symbol was on the card saver.
Oh, was there? Oh, I think that was a hair. That was one of my dog's hairs.
Okay.
But but
Yeah,
a
that's clean.
card like
Yeah,
this, I'm gonna take a lot of good photos of it and I'm gonna
yeah.
highlight
I
like the
fully
clean
agree.
corners and stuff.
Yeah,
But it's Pokemon Arceus print quality for the Charizard. I mean, this card came in 2 different ways. It came with the crack ice hollow. It had the 3 ways. It had the reverse too, but this is the hollow. And in a 10, this is a
oh, that's a
multi-thousand
yeah,
dollar card.
yeah.
In
I
an
love that
8,
card. Yeah.
this card is, yeah. I mean, I want to say if I had to take a guess, if I had to like just pull a guess out of my ass for this card in a PSA 10, you're probably looking at like sub 50-ish, so it's not a popular card, or it's not an easy card to grade. Even, to
No,
be honest with you, Platinum Arceus as a set probably has less cards graded than the Moonbreon has as an entire set. So
but it's a beautiful card though. I
yeah,
actually have that one myself. But yeah, I think I looked at that recently. What's the number on that one, PK?
1 out of 99. It's Arceus, yeah,
Oh,
I
it's number
think.
one.
Yeah.
I was just looking to see if I could quickly find it. Yeah, I looked at it recently actually, but I don't see it popping out here at the moment. But
But
yeah,
like
fully
that,
agree.
yeah.
With those higher price cards, you can take the time. But if you're
Well, I
doing
mean,
10,000 and you're running in bulk, there's no way.
yeah, I mean that card is, you're gonna put it up. You're gonna take as many, because it has clean corners. That card, it's just got a little
Hmm.
edge wear, so you're gonna take as many photos as you can, like highlight in that card, because somebody's gonna say, "I know what this 10 sells for. Maybe this has an outside shot at a 10, and it's an 8." So
Exactly.
you never know.
Exactly.
People get lucky every day, but this probably won't be that card.
Let's see. I was actually really quite excited to meet you at Charlotte Collecticon. If I don't know if you remember, because I know you probably met like hundreds of people,
Oh yeah, I
but
was
me
I was busy.
me and my wife and my 2 kids came up and we introduced ourselves. And at the time, there wasn't too many people around, but then quickly thereafter, some people showed up. But it was a pleasure to meet you, first of all, at Charlotte, and hope to do so again in the coming year. And one of the things I think about, because for me, that was the first year of investigation. I was kind of just seeing what's it like. I was experiencing it just as somebody walking the floor. You went out there. Was that your first one selling? How many have you been at in terms of vending?
So I vended at one. That was my second Collecticon. The first one I
Okay.
did was Denver Collecticon, and I
Okay.
went just as a just as a guest. I just wanted to experience it.
Oh,
Didn't
that's
bring
what
any
somebody
cards.
shared a table with you.
I didn't share a table in Denver. No, I helped Nick
Oh.
Old School Pokemon at his table.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so on the second day, I just needed somewhere to sit, and then I sat behind. Nick had 2 tables, and I sat behind one of them and helped him sell. Or no, he had one table with 2 cases. I stood behind one of his cases and just helped him sell cards. But yeah, and then the second
That's a
one,
good experience.
I asked a lot of questions to like figure out what was selling at Denver. So I decided to bring a lot of those cards to Charlotte, and I had a great experience. Like I was surprised at how much I sold. Yeah. I
Is this
sold
something that you're gonna
just
try to do
Rusty's
again?
packs. Rusty
Yeah.
dropped off a box of packs for me, and I sold nineteen
Yeah,
hundred
I saw the
dollars worth of
box.
packs for Rusty. So
But a lot of that, to be fair, was not at the Collecticon floor. It was actually in the hotel in the night
yeah,
after, right?
yeah, yeah. That box was huge. It was heavy too.
You showed it to me. I was like, wow, that's a lot of packs.
Yeah. And then I sold
Yeah.
the other. I believe it was 96 of the like packs were remaining. I sold them the nickel. Well, I didn't sell them. I gave them the nickel old school Pokemon. I was like, you handle this with Rusty yourself, man. So,
But are you gonna like forge yourself ahead into 2024 with a ton of Collecticons? What's your approach
so,
for 2024 in Collecticons?
so we finally got so I'm from the Northeast. We finally got a Collecticon that came sort of in my vicinity, which is in driving distance, which is going to be New
Okay.
Jersey. So
Okay.
I'm definitely going to vend New Jersey. And then I have plans to maybe try to attend Charlotte just as a guest, even if it's fly in on Thursday, fly out on Sunday morning kind of thing. But
Okay.
I'll be doing two, Charlotte and
At least two.
Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not a big place for you. So then that probably implies you focus mainly on eBay. Would that be fair to
Yep.
say?
Yeah.
Okay.
eBay is definitely
Okay.
my go-to. But
Okay.
with I don't know. So Collecticon could get tough because like I'm going there by myself, and I'm one of those people. I feel super guilty when I ask people to like stand behind my table. Shout out to Rattle Pokemon. Anytime Rattle would walk by my table, I would literally just take a handful of cash, throw it in his hand, didn't count, had no clue like how much money I gave him, and I just like I gotta go
Hold
use the
this.
bathroom, and then
Yeah.
Rattle would stand behind my table and like vend for me for a little bit, but I felt bad like walking around or anything. I felt like I had to get back to my table, so that was tough. And then I guess I kind of use it as a mini vacation too. Like I don't I'm not a business, so I don't get the cheapest possible hotel room they get. I get the nicer hotel room that has the nice bed, and I don't know why I get it, but I do. And I get whatever like the meal bar pass they have at the hotel. Like I don't go there and like pinch every penny. I don't split a room with people, which when you're going there to make money, you should be doing that. You should pinch every penny. We're going to go out to, I saw Chef 954 out there. We're going to go to the nice steakhouses and stuff when we're there. So it's not like I'm eating at McDonald's there's not a dollar menu anymore, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. I get your
we're
point.
enjoying it like a vacation. So
Right.
it gets a little dicey, but if I was going to do it more as a business, then I would say, okay, got to share a room with somebody. Got to be a cheap room in the cheap hotel. I'm not splurging on any fancy steak restaurants or anything like that. So, yeah, there's definitely a
Well,
way to do it
it's
that
a
I will do
balance.
that. I'm not the right guy, but I'm not a business either.
All right. All right. So we got two Collecticons lined up for 2024 at a minimum. Um, do you see any benefits? That's one of the common conversations I hear being had is selling online versus Collecticons in person, and most people, I would say, tout the relationships and what happens after the Collecticons as the benefit. What would you kind of chime in on that as the benefit you saw in the two you attended?
At Collecticon, it's just you can move stuff. Like
Hmm.
move all the stuff
Quantity.
you can't. I mean, it gets tough to do a 1999 buy it now listing on eBay. Like you do a 1999 buy it now listing, you're into that card. It's probably a junkier card, so you're probably into that card for sub $5.
16
You're into it
plus
with
shipping.
PSA
Yeah.
for
Grading.
$15 grading.
Yeah.
Then with free shipping, you're gonna lose $3.80 to ship it to somebody. That's a tough card to sell on eBay. In Collecticon, you throw that in a $25 junk slab box. You get the one guy comes over, pays you 25
Buys
for it.
them all.
You get the other guy, talks you down to 20, thinks he's got a good deal. You can't wait to get rid of this card. There's cards
I
like that
guess I'll
that
do it.
are worth it to move at a Collecticon. And I had old maid cards for days stacked to
I was
the
gonna say, how many
right.
old maids did you sell?
I don't know. I want to say I should have counted, but it was over 100 old maid cards. So
Wow.
I had them stickered at 30. If people talked me down, 25, and if people were about to leave the table and say I'll come back, it was a $20 card. So, and you know, you sell 100 cards at $30 a piece. an old made card, you're into that is more or less the cost of grading, you know? So it was cards like that moved. Bunch of eights. Like I had some fan favorite Pokemon. I had some Gengars, like reverse hollows from expeditions and eights. Uh I had the Sabrina's Gengar. I don't know why I'm on Gengar, but like lower tier eights, nines, sevens, cards that are really tough
All
for me to
moved.
move. When people walk over to your table, you say, "What are you into?" And they say, "I'm a Gengar collector. I'm a Abra collector. I'm a Celebi collector, whatever." You could be like, "Well, I got this card for you," and they're like, "Oh, I need that card." So it's a lot different.
Sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Did you get any buyouts?
no, I got offered, but not at what I
Okay.
was willing to sell at.
Okay.
I'm not a business. I didn't need the buyout. So if I needed it, I would have took it, but I didn't need it. I had
Uh,
people coming up to my table and they didn't speak English. I think they were speaking Japanese, but they were arguing with each other in Japanese because one of the guys didn't want the guy to buy a bunch of stuff from me because I was just moving a bunch of like junk to him. And then I moved a couple of like I didn't move anything high end because I didn't bring anything high end. Anything high end, I'm going to sell on eBay. I'm going to do that myself because then the margins are there. It's worth it. But all the junkier stuff, like that's what Collecticon was great at. And there was a while I ran out of room in my case, but luckily I was also doing in-person consignments, and I was
right. I
able to
remember that.
move a couple $1,000 worth of consignments there too. So it
It was a
was it was,
win-win.
it was
It
a
was a
good
win-win.
time.
Getting your own bedroom, having a good steak dinner,
Yeah,
win-win.
hanging out with good people. It's a company though,
Right.
it's a company you keep in this hobby.
I agree. That's actually one of the replies I gave on Basics 24-hour live stream. One of the things I love most, it's not why I came here, but one of the things I love most is the people and the community.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. I, I don't know what this club is. I'm not sure if that's something inside joke or something, but it doesn't ring any bells to me. And apparently, Mr. Kite was wanting to ask the same question earlier as well. But I don't know. I don't know. Does that ring any bells for you?
No.
No. Maybe this was Ernie's here. Mr. Kite, go to seller's item, click. Oh, okay. Okay. So I see we're getting to the details. Click on other items, scroll down to the left. Okay, navigation. Okay, so we're talking about some actual eBay stuff probably. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, a little bit off. Yeah, I was off. All right, no worries, no worries. So one of the things I really like is I'm a big analogy guy. My wife hates it. Analyze everything and I give analogies and she just say what it is. Like, I got to give an analogy so you'll understand. And one of the things I noticed is you probably, as we talked about before, think about Pokemon so much. Somehow you take life's experiences and lessons and you translate them to some analogy of Pokemon. Somehow, some way. And this one
Do
example
I?
that you did recently
Oh.
was the bosses of bosses, the mob, and you talk about the Moonbryon. So how is it that you sit there and translate everything from life to Pokemon?
Oh, I
What's
don't
the
know.
thoughts in PK's head? I got to hear your
I
perspective on this.
I don't know how those I don't neurons misfiring maybe. I think that's what happened. It's just I don't know. It's just how people talk. I don't
It
know.
just it comes naturally.
It just comes,
We'll,
yeah.
we'll leave it we'll leave it at that. Well, that's good because one of the things I want to do next is something nobody's ever done with you, PK. I want to break down. How do you think? This may take a while.
Good luck. I don't know, so
So, what's your most recent problem? Name something you ran into, life, work, just something you can speak to generically. What's a problem that you ran into that you had to solve?
um I had to recently get fresh gas for my snowblower because it's supposed to snow where I live tonight.
Okay. So, what's your thought process on solving a problem like that? That one's quite simple, but just kind of as silly as it may sound, walk us
Yes.
through what the thought process is.
Yeah, so I had this is not Pokemon, but I had
I know
old
that's okay.
gas.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Go
I
for it.
had old gas with a 50 to 1 mixture. and it's sitting around a little bit. My snowblower, I was having, this is not Pokemon, but last year I was having a little trouble. Like it was bogging a little bit. Like I would have to run it in like a half choke. So
Yep.
this year I still had a little bit of that 50-1 mixture left over that I had made for my snowblower last year. And at this point it was old gas. I always fill up with 87 octane, but I said I'm gonna fill up just a single gallon because I had about 2 gallons of the 50-1. I filled up a gallon, but with 93 octane. So I figure a little bit of octane boost. Maybe it's just my leaf blower is
Clean the
just struggling a
pipes.
little bit
Yeah.
running this like lower octane fuel. So I'm going to mix a gallon of 93, but I mixed it at 25-1. So I mixed it with a little less oil because, sometimes if you put a little too strong of an oil mixture in, especially old
Yeah.
oil, that could be the reason why I was running a half choke too. So I said, I'm going to mix it at 25-1. I'm only adding 1 gallon with 25-1 to 2 gallons of 50-1. So at the end of the day, I get 3 gallons with a little less of a mixture, and
Right.
maybe that will prevent me having to run that snowblower at half choke. So I don't know if that helps you.
But you
If
haven't
you told
tried
me
it
I was
out
going to
yet,
talk
right?
about my snowblower on today's video, I would have said probably not.
But you haven't tried it yet, right? So you haven't went through actually solution validation yet.
No, not yet. No.
Yeah. All right. All right. So let's take the analogies a little bit, and we'll break it down a little bit more. When you're stuck, in this case, you don't know if you're stuck because you haven't tried the snowblower yet.
Sure.
But there's many times, I'm sure, in the past with a different problem, you've been stuck on the problem, and whatever you've tried didn't work. What is it you start to think of? Are you asking yourself, what did I miss? Are you asking yourself, I need to learn something more? Are you asking yourself, I didn't apply it correctly? Let's go to even your most recent CGC and kind of slab breaking example.
Yeah.
When you're trying to look at the other slabs and you're trying to crack them in a fairly and equally way, how are you breaking down this problem? What's your thought process? What are
Yeah.
you
So
asking yourself?
I guess it's one of the things I do in life, and it's something I've actually talked about on my channel. I don't know if you caught this, but Professor Oak always says he doesn't look at glasses half full or half empty. He's just worried about
Right.
like quenching a thirst.
I caught
Well,
it.
he
Yeah.
started, I don't know if he knows this, but he started saying it after I said something a little different is I'm not a half full and I'm not a half empty type guy. I'm a how can I fill this glass type guy. That's all I care
Mm,
about. If I see a problem, all I care about is finding a solution. So for me, half full, half empty is meaningless. I see a glass that is a problem because it's not full. All I care about is filling that glass. So I'm
mm.
going to do whatever I have to solve that problem. And however much or little like of my time or brain capacity that problem takes is what I'm going to do. So anytime something in my life comes up, my concern is just to fix that issue. Whether it's a leaf blower, whether it's Pokemon, whether it's people tell me I can't crack a CGC slab, and I
Right.
get my day in the sun where I get to just dance on everybody, like don't challenge me. God, I can't. Somebody's gonna have to fact check me on this number, but I want to say that the number is 2,774 attempts Edison had at the light bulb.
For creating light bulb. Yeah. Yeah.
It was, I believe that's the number. 2000, so 2,774. You guys could fact check me, but that means he tried 2,773 other attempts to make the longer lasting light bulb. Edison didn't invent the light bulb, but that make the longer lasting. And I think he wound up on like some bamboo filament or something. Like if they really like, this isn't Pokemon, this is stretching my knowledge,
Well,
but
please go ahead. Go ahead.
it takes 2,773 different tries. He could have ended at that 2,773, and he never went to that next one. But he saw a problem, which was these light bulbs aren't lasting a long time. These are not energy efficient. This is a problem. How can I find a solution? And I look at that the same way. If it takes me 2,774 attempts to figure out how to do something, I will do that. And a lot of people just don't have that sort of like willpower. And,
Yeah.
like with slab cracking, there'll be somebody out there who'll be like, I attempted to open 2 slabs and I wasn't able to. Therefore,
Didn't
you are
work.
not
It's
allowed.
not possible.
No one in the world who ever lives could do it because I tried. Not, I know Josh tried the crack too. I'm not talking about Josh in particular, but people will take that as, and run with it. So, but I will
I
crack
want to.
100 slabs to try to figure out how to do it. Put it that way.
What about when you're faced with reality that your perceptions are wrong?
Like, give me an example. Like,
I don't have one for you specifically. Like I don't have one, but if you were sitting there and somebody said, "Well, this is not possible because here's facts that exist that this is not." I've tried to crack 2 slabs, and that's. But you actually know that what you're trying to achieve is not there. Do you just turn away and you say, "Okay, well, fine, I'll move to the next problem," or do you actually say, "Well, I still think there's something there"?
So, for the slab cracking, it's tough, but I would say mainly for my life when I'm presented with like contradictory information or something. I just care about whatever the truth is. So if my opinions are wrong and I find out that like there is a more truthful thing, I will always go to the truth, and I'm going to go to where like the data proves it and stuff. And I'm always going to, I will always go with my gut first and foremost, go with my gut 100% of the time. But once that information is presented to me, I will then change, like there's more than one way to skin a cat, so I will change if the information is presented to me, and
and you see it as valid, right?
Yeah, if it's truthful, it goes to what's the truth. I don't care about anything except for the truth at the end of the day.
And before we jump to the next part of this, completely agree, Professor Oak, a gem in the hobby. I have something I'm yet to post yet, but the man actually sent me something that I deeply valued as a gift, and I'll be showing that later on a video. But yeah, I love Professor Oak. Great man to have the hobby, and so glad to have that conversation with him.
Did we figure out how my brain works yet?
Nope. Wait. I'm not done yet.
Oh,
not done yet. Does the desire for a solution consume you?
For a desire for a solution consume me? Trying to think at work if that would work out.
Like when you go to bed at night and you have an unanswered problem, are you sitting up thinking at night about it? Does it wake you up? Does it consume your, non-mandatory thoughts?
No, because I do a good job I try to just prioritize stuff, just whatever's priority at that moment will take precedent in a way. But like I would say nothing really keeps me up at night.
Okay. Good sleeper.
Yeah, I just, to be honest with you, I just don't have enough hours in the day to not be a sleeper, like when I get my opportunity to go to sleep, it's usually around like 12, 1 a.m. and then I'm up 5:30. So every day.
Very few hours. Jeez.
Very few hours. So I can't stay in bed and think.
There's no time for that.
No time. Not with kids.
You've maxed it out.
And a job. And Pokemon.
Okay. Well then maybe not sleep part of it, but does the desire for a solution of whatever the problem is, does it continue to haunt you until you have it?
No, it's just, I think is that different? I would say it's determination. Just an unwilling determination, like to not stop.
Okay.
Is that the same as being obsessed? I just think it's determination, just unwillingness to
give up.
And give up, bend, break. I don't keep going. Especially if I could see the end in sight, if I could see the finish line. I think that's a huge thing too. Like if I'm given a task and I see a finish line, I'm like, it's just a matter of how do you get to that finish line, right? Like you're presented with a problem, and you can present me with some super complicated mathematics problem that's just out of, if it's anything past Calc 3, I'm not going to be able to even, to be honest with you, I've been out of college for a long time. If it's anything just math related, I'm probably not going to be able to solve it for you without some help outside of mine. But if you give me a problem that I believe was in my wheelhouse or something that I'm capable of solving, then yeah, just sheer
Okay.
unstopped determination, I guess. Isn't that important though, just in life in general, to be determined?
It 100% is to me. Yeah.
And whether it's your personal life or, family life, work life, it's just sheer determination, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to hire somebody that's not determined at what they do. That's how you're going to have a high turnover, people that don't care.
Exactly.
You don't want to
Yep.
hire those
9 to
people.
5.
You want somebody that just that's one of those questions I ask all the time, and I always try to hear people like give their answers. It's just, how do you get the project done? It's just, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it done. Whether that
Fully agree.
is time, whether that is effort, whether that is, I don't have the certain tool I need. So what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go out and get the tool. Well, what if you don't have the tool? I'm going to make the tool. And then
Exactly. You gotta make it.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in the oil fields, I didn't do it personally, but there would be parts that would break on the rig, and we would be 2 hours out from a hot shop, but there was no parts in town, and there was somebody there in a machine shop right there next to the rig,
Perfect.
and they would just
That's all you
fabricate the
needed.
part themselves. You know why? Because they
Yeah.
got to keep the job going. And I'm
That's
from
right.
the same mindset. It's, I don't
I
have
love
the
it.
part. Well, do you have the materials to make it? Yes, then make it. We'll
Did
worry
that
about.
come from your job and education, or did it come from a father or a grandfather? Where did that come from?
I think it came from just me. I don't know, like job probably. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
just always, um, like my job, it was work all the time. When I was in the oil field, like I got called up on a Saturday once on my day off to go in to do an 8-hour job. I didn't go home till 56 hours later.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
that was on my
Fi-
day off. It was like 2 a.m. Somebody didn't show up for a job, and then they sent me out. It was 56 hours later I got home.
So
So
those who want to complain for working 50 hours, imagine being called on your day off to
yeah,
work another
yeah,
56 hours.
yeah. I've slept with my boots
I love
on
it.
many a times and like pickup trucks, slept with coveralls on, slept with, you know, not having a shower for days. Just it's just part of the get it done. But that's a
Yeah,
certain type of person, right? Like not everyone could
it
do
is.
that.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And here, Ernie translates that to us for the modern collector.
Yeah, it's my
Buy everything.
that's my favorite Michael Scott quote. Not Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Appreciate it, Zach. Thank you, sir. Yes, if you haven't already, make sure you go check out Pokemon Knowledge, subscribe, give him a shout out, and much love there. Always appreciate it. Thanks, Zach. Um, if we move this over to a little bit of content creation perspective, so now I'll leave your brain alone. I'll dissect you more maybe on the next encounter we have together. But when we think about your content creation, I was actually quite surprised watching your old videos. You actually edited videos. I couldn't believe it. I
Yeah.
said, PK used to edit videos.
Then
What
you could really
happened?
see how my brain worked back in the meme days, because I created all those memes too.
Did you? I was going to ask you because some of those images with the text, I'm like, and you moved through some of those quickly. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is a lot of memes. Like, where is he looking on a
No,
site to get all this, or was he actually creating this?
I was making them myself. Yeah. So that w- that was, thank God for the pandemic, because otherwise I wouldn't have the time. But
So, what transitioned you to stop creating any editing, move straight to the lives? Everything's just unedited form. What was the transition for you?
I started saying some stuff on my channel, and one of like my complaints for other people were people that didn't show their face. So do you know how contradictory like that statement is if you have never shown your face?
Okay,
Like a lot of people
okay,
out here don't know. I didn't go live until I was already monetized. I already had about 14,000 subscribers. So, and my channel had already been around for a year, and I went a year without showing my face. So when people, and a lot of it came down to like investment advice. I was like, people giving investment advice and they won't show their face. And I was like, all right, dude, just look in the mirror. Like, you're talking about yourself in this situation. So it came down to, okay, I'm going to do a test live on my laptop with no camera, no microphone, or just the built-in laptop camera, super
Right.
bad quality, and start talking and just see what happens. And then I got a little more comfortable with it, and then I started like getting guests on. Shout out to Mason from Cardinal Game, who's my first ever guest.
Oh, who's your
And then
first
Nickel,
guest? Nice.
yep, Nick Old School Pokemon, he was second. And then I was like, you know what? I really, really enjoy this. And it was taking a while to edit those videos, like you said. I would record a video, so I'd record just my voice, and then I would go back and add the memes to it. And it took a while. And I would do it laying in bed before I fall asleep, and then I would have to process the video. And I did my first live, and I was like, wait, I could just go and start
Is
talking
that easy?
and then hit end, and that's it. I just gave myself all this extra time, and then I figured out that's what I want to do. I lost a lot of certain type of viewers. Long form content's
Yeah.
not for everybody, especially
Yeah.
talking about Pokemon for as long as we talk about it. I mean, you're in the niches if you guys are watching this right now. So,
We're an hour and 41 minutes in.
I mean, I talked about my snowblower and getting gas for about 4 minutes earlier today. So, you have to be into it. And I realized that while I enjoy the subscriber count growing and stuff, and at the end of the day, I'm going to make the content that I like to watch. And the content I make is the content I like to watch. And if other people like it too,
Great.
good. It's going to be there for you. And if people don't like it, then guess what? Pew, pew, pew. Like that's all I got to say about that.
And I've went through a similar journey myself, to some smaller degree. It's been a very short time compared to yours, but I've definitely changed some things over the year of content creation. And it's what I'm doing now. As you said, it's not for everybody, but it's so much fun. Shout out to Professor Oak. It's so much, and some more love for Professor. It's so
Wait,
much fun
are
to do
those
these
still coming through
podcasts.
my mic? I thought I
No,
muted that.
that one you actually successfully muted
Okay.
it, so congrats.
All right.
But I'm still watching.
Okay.
I'm highly attentive. But it's so much fun to do these. And I think I was talking to, maybe it was Oak after our podcast, but I'm asking the questions that I would ask you if we were sitting down together and having a few beers and just hanging out and talking and chit chatting, and maybe a little bit more, sure. But I try to give the value that I would have for myself. Like, I want to get to know you, and having this conversation on a live and 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever it may be. Um, I enjoy it, and it's so much fun. And I've
Well,
lost a lot of people because of that, and I understand. I still do some other things, and I still try to stay true to my original subscribers, but I try to also mix it in with things that we enjoy. And I tell you what, as a content creator, one of the hardest things is to try to make one channel that does all the things that you love.
mm,
I can't create long form content, create in open packs, do product reviews, do this, talk about how to play TCG, all these things in one channel. It's too much for people. And they say, oh, he's done a bunch of lives and a bunch of podcasts. Like, that's not for me. I'm going to unsubscribe. It's like, well, but I also have this other content. So it's really hard to try to balance all those things together. And so try to
and
do the best I can, but having fun.
I thought about it a long time ago, and would I rather have 100 viewers that
Yeah.
didn't
Exactly.
care, or would I rather have 5 viewers that were
Yep.
super engaged with the content,
Right.
and they show up every day, and they enjoy your takes and you enjoy theirs, and
Yep.
is YouTube just a one-way street? Like, I love Nick PokeRev, but for him, in a way, like when it comes to interacting with his listeners, it's a one-way street. He gives all the entertainment, and the viewers, they just absorb it. Me, I'm spoiled in the sense that I get a two-way street. So even though I'm making the content, maybe people are enjoying watching this, like, I'm interacting with people all the time too. Like, shout out to Drew. I talked about number one mod before I went live tonight. Me and him were just, chatting on Instagram, just bullshitting about like different solvents to potentially like fix the slab issue I had with the ink and
Right.
stuff. Like, I'm getting
Gasoline.
feedback from people that watch my videos and stuff, which I think that's more important. And, find your core demographic of people, like the people that enjoy you and the content you're making. And guess what?
Totally
If it's
agree.
not for everybody, like, so be it, man.
Yep. Pew pew pew
But
pew.
if people want to hop on along that way, like at this point, my channel's just a freight train. It's going to take a lot to derail that train. So
Well, many of us enjoy it, so keep going, PK. We're there for the ride, my friend.
I got plans for 4 videos a week. So
That's gonna be tough. We'll talk
I,
about that here in a second, actually.
yeah, I did it this year so far. It's only a weekend, but I've done it.
It's 6 days into the year, buddy.
Yeah, but it also means I'm changing up with some of the content. So I'm going to be doing a few of the 30-minute videos. So go on, chat. Maybe can't interact with the chat as much.
I was gonna say you gotta turn off the live chat.
Yeah,
If you're gonna do that.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
just
It's a different approach. But well, actually, I want to talk about your 2024 goals. But before we do, I was curious. You took a long time to turn on memberships. I vaguely remember you stating why, and you talked about, I think, something about the value that you did or did not have to give, and you kind of felt guilty for turning that on. But can you speak to why now you've turned that on, and what was the hesitation leading up to this point?
I just wanted to like add cool memes, like the little emojis that you get.
Okay.
And
Yep.
then I was like, so the way my content is designed is it's interactive, meaning at every time I make a video, there's a live chat. And then that live chat obviously disappears after the video's over. But I mean, you could watch the playback of it given, whatever. But during the live, I have a lot of people that join my videos and they're not there to talk to me. They're joining my videos to interact with the other people in that chat.
Yeah.
And I've been on other lives and I've gotten gifted memberships, and it's fun to shoot out some of those memes and stuff. So I was like, I want this for my channel. And the only way I can make these fun little memes for people is I need to turn on memberships. And I have 2 levels. I have a 99-cent tier and a Raichu level tier. I didn't know that you couldn't gift memberships with that higher tier. It like defaults to it. Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles let me know. So on my next live, I have to let everyone know that I'm going to cancel their channel memberships and only make the 99-cent tier. But I don't want to just cancel a bunch of memberships without giving everybody the heads up on one of my lives. So because everybody's
It's
going to get
funny.
refunded for those.
I keep giving Josh and Professor Oak a hard time on one of their first live. I was trying to gift memberships, and I tried on my phone. I couldn't do it. So they said, "Oh, you need to go upstairs." So I went upstairs. I got my computer, and the only membership you can gift was like the $2.99 membership.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's what happened with me. So I had 2 memberships. I had 99-cent and then the
yeah,
$2.99. And
okay,
I didn't know you could only gift. And I don't want people to gift $3
yeah,
memberships.
right,
So my next
exactly.
live, I got to cancel everybody's, and then there'll only be the 99-cent. But everybody at least gets refunded. I don't get that money. So yeah,
They're dropping a bunch of emojis in the chat here for memberships. Again, I'm sorry I can't show them on the stream here due to the way the StreamYard, or I should say Streamlabs works. But dropping a bunch of Raichus in the chat for you here, PK. So
appreciate that.
Drew and R&D Pokemoners. I love it.
So
Yeah.
did you put that in just for me?
I put Raichu in for you. I put a Bidoof in for Walrus, and Lugia in for myself, and then I picked a few others just for specific people. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Walrus is like, you need a Bidoof in here. Said, you
So
got it, my friend.
I
You
need
got
to
it.
know, what is my personality then? Did you dissect it yet? Do we know? You've watched enough of my content. I feel like you should know.
Your personality?
What was the question you were originally asking? Like, how does my brain work?
Oh, we're going back to that.
No, I just wanted to
Okay.
know, like, you've watched enough of my content. You got to be able to decipher it by now, right?
Well, I can't say I know you like your family members or your wife, but I'll give you my perspective, and I'm happy to do it. So, PK, in my mind, is a man of, and I have many things mixing in my brain as I think through this, but you're a deeply analytical man. and you're gonna think through questions, thoughts, what you say, more than most people often will. The humor side of you is always on the edge of the surface, but not in your face. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. One of the few times we got to see that was when you made the CTR video, and that was hilarious. I love that. Again, I don't want to ruin anything because I want to talk about that in a minute. But that to me was one of the most humorous perspectives of you that you got to put out there. But your intentions are always deeply sincere, and you're speaking from the heart. But again, we're in the niches of the niches. So people listening to us at an hour and 50 minutes in and all the nuances that we had is probably very few at this point, 35. But
Yeah.
regardless, it's so much fun to listen to people that go to that level of detail for me as an individual. And I'm deeply grateful that we have others to listen to who think like us. And I think that you would honestly do most things for anybody that have good intentions. You would give anything you could.
Oh, definitely.
But you hide a little bit. You have a little bit of a shield up,
Yeah.
and you protect yourself. But yeah, that's my interpretation of your personality and who you are.
Yeah.
And you can tell me if I'm wrong.
No,
But I've watched
that's
a
pretty
decent
good.
amount. Yeah.
That's good.
Got lots of emojis here in the chat. We got the Badoofs, we got the Lugias. I love it. We got Max Wolf, we got Drew. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. PK for president.
We wouldn't
You
want
gonna
to
run
see
for president, PK?
that.
Might be better than some we've had, my
Well,
friend.
my wife would leave me. That's one thing she told my kids: you're not allowed to be in. You're not allowed to be in politics.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
Yeah.
I don't blame her one bit.
Yeah, it's just too decisive.
But before I move on, did I get anything wrong? Did I misrepresent you in any way?
No, I thought it was pretty well. Yeah, I feel like I'm an open book, so that was a good breakdown.
All right.
I don't know how analytical I am though, but
what's that?
I don't know how analytical I am though.
I think you take yourself for granted.
See, I just think
the level of which you think about.
What was that?
Well, and I think the level of which you analyze things, you take that for granted because it's just who you are. You've been doing it for so long.
Okay.
And if you sat down to somebody who is not in that mindset and doesn't do that on a regular basis, the difference in the stark contrast between the two of you would be so big. But you're typically talking to a wall, much like you are right now.
Talking to a wall, yeah. Still, I mean, you're on the camera, but you're on the other side of the screen, but it's still a wall, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that rebuttal. You don't have that empty look face to say, "What is he talking about? Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
You go deeper than most, and that's how you're able to rant every day almost about Pokemon for hours. And to your point, how do you come up with content for hours, multiple times a week? But you do, and and you don't know. As you said in the beginning, you turn on the camera, you don't even know what you're going to talk about. Sometimes it just unfolds.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that. I always have like a topic. So like
you have an idea.
But you
don't have an hour and a half of an idea.
No. I don't even. You should see like
it's like one line.
Here's my notes from I have my notes from my last video. It says old slab. Just that's all it says. Old slab. And then new slab below that. And then Dan Catch 'em All collectibles, because I had to remember the talk that Dan gave me. Those are the things that are on
that's your keynotes.
Yeah, so I have to like talk that the old slabs were crackable. People said the new ones weren't, and then Dan gave me the cards, and those were my notes. And then
everything else unfolded around those three points.
Three things. And if you go back and watch that live, you will realize, oh my God, that's what happened. PK showed the old slabs. He started off with the PSA slab. Then I showed the Beckett slab, because the PSA slab was the old slab I tried to crack. The Beckett slab was next. And then I talked a little bit about the CGC old slab. And then I moved in to the new slab. And before all that happened, I talked about how Dan Catch 'em All collectibles sent me
Oh,
the cards. I
yeah.
included his
Waiting
YouTube
for
link
shipping.
in the description of my video. So all that was enough to make all that. So, but other
3
people maybe
points.
can't do that. I don't know.
And this is it. I mean, just your average Jeff talks about it. Way more analytical than any average person. And Max Wolf says, PK has a special talent for live streaming. For real.
You guys are too
For real.
kind. I don't know.
I missed something here. Something about a hat. I don't know where it went. It disappeared. Yeah, PK for YouTube live president.
I don't know about all that. You guys are.
Can I get the hell yeah? I love it. I love it. All right, all right. So we'll continue on. One of the things that was really interesting. I listened to your goals for your channel for 2024. You talked, and you just kind of mentioned it. You got 4 kind of main things. You're looking to start the podcast back, which, by the way, love to hear that. Sadly, to hear that CTR at least won't be there in the beginning. We'll see if that changes, but glad to have the podcast back with at least you and Rattle. Some more, I would say, consistent content. But that to me didn't really answer what you were trying to achieve. You told me what you were doing.
So,
but what are you actually trying to achieve in 2024 with your channel?
Honestly, YouTube for me is just, in a way, it's like free therapy. I have a lot of
Amen.
Pokemon thoughts that are going around in my brain, and now that I've been able to vocalize them, if I don't vocalize them, like the thoughts just they start building up here, and then you got to just sometimes let them out. That would be like if you're, I don't know, if you never expressed when you were angry, or never expressed when you were
Right.
sad, or never expressed when you were tired, or never expressed when you were, like different emotions that you run through in your daily life. Like if you never explain something bothers you, it will eat away at you until eventually you're going to probably explode. And
Yeah.
if you just talked it out earlier on, you wouldn't have like grew to this level. I'm the same way, but with Pokemon. If it just keeps growing up here, eventually I'm going to explode. So I got to, at least now I have an outlet, and that outlet is YouTube. And again, if I was talking to 0 people, I would talk to 0 people. But I just get lucky that there's some people crazy enough to want to tune in, so.
We're all here for you, my friend.
So when you
Glad
talk
you're
about
crazy enough to
2024,
talk to
those
the
are my
wall.
goals. What was that?
Yeah. I said, we're glad that you're crazy enough to talk to the wall.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, really, then it's for you. It's an outlet, but you also set that in a way that you're able to, I would say, set some stability, reestablish the things that you like, the podcast, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Stability being the things that you're trying to do on a more weekly basis. But it all kind of goes back to this is your free, therapy sessions, and going back to the overall point of the hobby, do what you enjoy.
Yeah. And the podcasts are one of the things that I missed a lot too. Just, towards the end, it was becoming something pretty special too. So, we were getting a lot of people on, a lot of people that usually were not really out there. Like you wouldn't hear them on long form type stuff, so it was nice. It was different. When I started going live, and now everyone goes live. Now everyone has a podcast. Now everyone has like this long form content. When I started to go live, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. It was a very, very small amount of people. In fact, really it was Jake from Pokenomics. And then there was like Squeaks and Radar had a podcast, but like the amount of people that like stuck with the long form content and just kept going with it and weren't trying to sell, pack rips or stuff like that. Like there was always the long form pack rippers who were trying to just sell you stuff from the beginning of the stream till the end of the stream. But the people who weren't doing that were such a small group of us. And really, out of that original group of long form Pokemon content, who stuck with it was probably only me. Unless you could tell me if you could think of anyone else that did the long form and stuck with it. Like Jake kind of backed away a little bit. Radar backed away for a while. Now he's coming back. He brought back his podcast, but he left for a while.
Just the only one that comes to mind at the moment is Dan and Nick Pokeflip's podcast.
Oh,
They
okay,
kind of hit
yeah.
ins and outs.
Well,
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
podcast definitely
Yeah.
has been around. Nick
Yeah.
kind of stepped away from YouTube. And,
Yeah, he did.
But
he got sucked into eBay Lives, but yeah, I get it.
But yeah, Dan was only doing the Pokeflips
Dan.
podcast.
Yeah.
But he wasn't making videos yet. So
Yeah.
now he's
Yeah,
doing
'cause
his own thing. So that is
exactly,
one,
yeah.
definitely.
That's one. That's the only one that comes to mind. But yeah, I fully agree. Fully agree. Before we get to kind of continue on, I just want to say, Zach, appreciate it, sir. Have a good night. Enjoy your family. Get some rest and enjoy the hike tomorrow, man. Want to hear about that. See where you guys are going. Real quick as well, very very much appreciated, Jeff. Thanks for the kind words, man. Again, doing it because we love it. It's fun, good times. But going back to your point, what I was really kind of trying to decipher between some of this, when you started doing the podcast, you were also, or I should say, started doing long form content. You were some of those, again, besides Poke Radar, that were doing some of the podcasts early on.
Mm-hmm. And Jake from Pokenomics, yeah.
And Jake, fair point. And now you're getting back into it. What do you think are some tips you can give people like me, people like others that are doing it, Beerski and others that are in this space of podcasting? What would be some things that you would give as a few tips, a few helpful ways down the path?
So I don't think I'm very good at it. So I'm probably not the best person to give advice on that.
All right.
But what I do is when I do the one-on-one interviews, I keep it very Pokemon focused. I try not to this is just the way I do it. I don't like to sway away from the topic of Pokemon. But when it came to the podcast, when it came to all of us, we made a conscious decision, the three of us. We talked it through. We were like, we're going to eventually move this podcast to almost no Pokemon. And if you watch all the episodes, you'll see a real hard divide. And you could actually pinpoint the episode. I don't know it off the top of my head, but you can see when we went. And then we moved to 40% Pokemon, and then 60% was going to be everything. And then we are eventually going to keep pushing that line till eventually it was going to be 10% Pokemon and 90% whatever the hell we wanted. And it started to get there a little bit, but sometimes we would have guests on too. And when you have a Gem Mint Pokemon on, or if you have a Rusty on, you got to start picking these dudes' brains, right? You're going to ask your Pokemon questions to these guys. So then this podcast would sway a little bit more of the Pokemon. So it was a touch feel type thing. But man, I had so much fun at what I call it the peak of the podcast. It was fun. I'd get
Would the peak be when everybody got called on and you had that big massive episode? Is that the one you're referring to?
No, for me the peak was the last episode.
Okay.
So because the people, there was more and more viewers, for every video. And I think the most I ever had on a live stream, or viewers congruent, watching, was 468 viewers.
Wow.
And I don't have a big channel. So to have close to 500 people tuned in for real time to the live stream is just ridiculous, That's
I can't
a
imagine.
preposterous amount of people. I get happy when I'm happy I hit 100. I had close to 5 times that,
I'm happy right now.
Yeah.
37.
So at the end it was we had a good schedule. It was every month. At the end of the month, we couldn't guarantee the day, but you knew it was going to be on a Friday. You knew it was going to be one of the last 2 weeks of the month. And people started to look forward to it, put it on their calendar. And that's just as important, is you need people to start to say, oh, at the end of the month, I'm going to get a PK Rattle and CTR podcast. Right. I know this is something I get to look forward to one of these Friday nights. And if I can't tune in real time, I know I get to listen to this replay, and I have no clue what the hell these guys are going to talk about. They're gonna be talking about Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles or Pokemon
All kinds
cards
of stuff.
or
Yeah,
whatever. And
I love it.
so it peaked. It peaked at the end, and like maybe view count so much didn't peak at the end, but I don't look at view count for that. I look at the engagement. The messages in the chat, like I still have them, are like I think it was like 5,000 messages in the chat. So that
Wow.
means
Wow.
throughout a 4-hour live, 4,000 messages is 1,000 messages per hour. Like people are super actively engaged. Like people are loving this stuff, and
Wow.
the end,
That was
yeah.
5,000 messages. Wow.
But
That's awesome.
if there's any silver lining, in my opinion, that podcast, which was the pinnacle of my channel, the pinnacle of my YouTube career, it went out on top, and like it didn't end
On a
poorly.
bad note.
Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
just ended like any other normal episode would, and then it was just the question of when's the next one going to be. So
Right.
it's something I'm very proud of too, and
Yeah.
to do something you love with two of your best friends too, like that's something I had going for me. Like when it comes to Pokemon, like I have a lot of best friends in this hobby, which is crazy to say, but I hold Rattle on such a high like friendship level opposed to anybody else. Like he's the person I've talked to the most, and then CTR, I hold them at probably second to Rattle with people that I care about most in this hobby. So to be able to go live with two of your best friends and just talk
Talk them.
about nonsense,
Well,
and the
anything
fact
really.
that 10,000 people would watch a live, 10,000 people.
That's
I don't even have
crazy.
10,000 subscribers. Like, you know how crazy it is that my views were exponentially higher than my subscriber count? Like that's very rare for YouTube. People out there might
Yeah.
not realize that, but to get substantially more views, but that might say a lot about me too, that people just don't like me, they only like them. And I'm also not blind to that fact. I know why people
Right.
were tuning into that. They were tuning in for Ryan and Rattle. But the crazy thing is when we started the podcast too, Ryan just started back up his channel. Like it just started back up. And now he's on this crazy, growth
He's on
thing.
a
But
big trajectory. Yeah.
that's the thing. Like I knew Ryan. I knew that Ryan has that personality. I knew what type of person he is, and he's like he has this gravitational force to him where he just attracts people, And it wasn't a question of if he would become 100,000 subscriber channel. It's never a question of if. It was just a question of
Win.
when.
Yeah.
So
Not too far away. So, what would be maybe something you can take away from that abstract and say, this is something I would share for somebody to consider if they're doing their podcast? What would be your kind of takeaway?
Well, I mean, I guess it goes to what I just said. Like, if you're going to do a podcast, do it with people you
Do it.
like.
Yeah. There you go.
That would be the make or
There you go.
break. Is if
All right.
people argue or people don't get along or something like that. Like, that's what ends podcasts.
He says, iFilmo says, you should have accepted Ryan's baby shower gift. Yeah, he got pretty upset about
He did.
that.
I do have it.
Yeah.
He sent me
Oh, he
my
did.
son's
Okay.
car seat, which is he's not. He
Okay.
sent him sent me the next size up. So right now my son's only 7 months, so he's too small. He's still in the original call it
Okay.
carrier case one, but
Yep.
yeah, I will
Yeah.
have
Okay. So,
the car seat Ryan purchased for me for the next couple years sitting in the back of my
perfect.
wife's car. So
Perfect. All right. Yeah, because he got upset with you at some point. Like, just tell
yeah,
me what it is, and I'll give
he's
it
like,
to
he's
you.
like, I'm either buying you this or this is it. We're ending the podcast. But
Exactly. I
well,
remember that episode.
listen, one of the things I like to do with Ryan too on the podcast is I like to just poke him, and just see how far I could poke him to, and see if I could get him to break, but not in a negative way, but in a way
Right.
you poke your friends. I feel like sometimes in this hobby though, people do like to poke people, but it's one thing to
Yeah.
poke your friends. It's another thing to poke somebody who's not your friend, and
Yeah.
that's a gray area. People are real quick to cross that. But
Again, warriors behind the keyboard. It makes it quite
yeah,
abstract.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you're poking your friend. It's like, yeah, they're your friend.
Yeah.
It's when they're not
Oh.
your friend. Don't poke the bear, man.
How'd you meet Rattle? Says Max Wolf.
So I met Rattle. I reached out to Rattle. So I reached out to Rattle. I had more subscribers than Rattle, which shows you
Really?
the crazy trajectory Rattle
Wow.
went on. I think Rattle could probably let you know, but I think I had more subscribers than him. He was at like, oh, maybe he had more than me. I think he had less than me though. I think he was at like 1,300 subscribers, and I was maybe at like 14 or 1,500. And
Okay.
he was just started making great videos, like doing what Rattle does. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, you want to come on for a live? And he's like, no, I don't really want to come on for a live. And then I was like, oh, okay, too bad. And then when the whole Logan Paul box break stuff happened, I watched his first videos, and then I started making like not reaction videos to him, but talking about it. And then I reached out to him again. I was like, hey, I know I asked you a while ago, will you come on? And he said no. Would you come on again and talk about some of the Logan Paul stuff? And he goes, not right now. Like he was getting swamped with like people trying
Yeah, I
to
can
have him
imagine.
on and people
Yeah.
interviewing him. And then after the fact, he did come on, and I was the first channel he went on after like the whole Logan Paul thing happened. And the first live, I told him, okay, we'll go for an hour. And I think, see, I don't know why I'm good at like random things, but I think we went for 3 hours and 36 minutes. I think that's how long we chatted for. And after it
That's
was
longer
done,
than Titanic.
yeah, then after it was done, I joined his Discord, and then he's got some private groups in his Discord where like voice chats and stuff. And then I started hopping in there and talking to him, and uh, then me and then I had this idea. I was like, hey, let's have a dual chat with me, CTR, and Rattle. It would be fun to just have all three of us on the same videos. I think those guys have really good personalities, and I'll do my best to like lead the
Be a
conversation
middle.
as and it's hard, you're leading two wild men with very strong personalities. And then we did the first video, and Rev hopped on like an hour and a
Yeah, I
half
remember
in.
that. Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever talked to Nick. And like I was like, and then after it was over, I was like, that had a good feel to it. Like that live was over, and I was like very energetic. I was like, there's something here. Could this become a reoccurring thing? Could we do the three of us and continue this going? So I reached out to Rattle, and I reached out to CTR. I was like, would you guys be interested in doing a podcast with the three of us? Because there was something special that happened in that conversation. And
I would
I would
agree.
like to try to repeat this. And I didn't think they would be on board, but they were both on board. And then
Wow.
it just
That's awesome.
started, and then it started compounding into, there was a point where people I think wanted to go on it. Like when we did that mega live stream, we had 12 people on the screen.
Yeah.
There were the people that were
Yeah.
there, they all wanted to be there. And that's something special too. Like when that was happening, it was special, and I realized it when it was happening. Like this
How
is a
did you feel at
special.
that very moment? I mean, that's
I
just
thought it was history. I
yeah.
thought
Episode
that
4 says
live,
true.
when all those people were on the screen, people don't realize Rusty was there at the beginning of that conversation, and he had already signed off before all these people hopped
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It was an epic just night for me. And I remember I went to bed, and I was super tired, and my eyes were wide open. And I was texting Ryan, I was texting Rattle, laying in bed, and I'm like, oh my God, that was freaking crazy. And they're like, dude, that was insane. Like, I can't believe Scott Pratt joined. Like, I can't believe like all these people hopped on. Like, what happened?
It was awesome. Yeah. I watched that
And
one several
it just
times.
had this special feel to it. And then the problem was that was a huge episode. And then it was like, can we ever top this? You know?
I don't
And
think you
the answer
can.
was like, we probably will never be able to really top it, but you don't have to have every episode be the best episode ever. I mean,
Right.
that's a good
Right.
goal, I guess, but that wasn't our goal. Our goal was let's just make every episode entertaining and people want to watch. And we got to that point. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, hey, shit happens, but we'll bring it. Me and Rattle are gonna bring it back. It'll be a little different style, but will Ryan hop on? Maybe, I don't know. That's yeah.
Well, Ernie, have a good night, brother. Thanks for
Good night,
stopping
Ernie.
in. We'll catch you on the next one, buddy. Do you think it's gonna be the same?
No, it won't be. But
No.
it doesn't have to be the same. I'm not trying to duplicate it. I'm just trying to start up something different, you know?
Okay.
It'll have the feels to it. Like there will still be me and Rattle, and then there'll be a third co-host on certain nights, and then we'll have the rotating guests. The format will be the same. It's just, we'll be missing sadly like 1/3 of the what made it special,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it'll never be exactly the same, but we're not gonna also pretend like it is. It's just gonna
Right.
But this is the thing too. Now we bring it back, and every month, if people enjoy me Rattle and they enjoy our conversations, now they have something to look forward to for every month. And there were so many things that happened that I was so sad that I couldn't have that podcast to like talk about. Right after it happened, Ryan went to Card Party. We never got the uncensored Ryan, what happened at Card Party, what happened in the hotel room after Card Party ended. We as a community, we were robbed of those stories, And like that is like in a way depressing. Like we were robbed in the sense that we never got to hear Ryan's takes.
You
And
weren't there, were you?
I
At
wasn't
Car
there,
Party?
but
Yeah.
his ability of storytelling, like he's a special person, he has that innate, like unquantifiable, like he just has it, whatever it is, he has that personality. So Card Party happened, and then Rattle broke the Blake Martinez stuff, which changed Whatnot as a platform, knocked off the biggest seller on
Yep.
Whatnot, their poster child, the person that was bringing in the most money in all of TCGs. Like that crazy stuff happened. There was all these card or PSA slabs being altered, like the whole Zhao
Yep.
PSA.
Yep. Fake
That
slabs. Yeah.
we were robbed of like being able to like get that unfiltered Rattle like conversation and like having people bounce question off them. And then, even recently, like all Rattle's videos he's been making, like we're robbed of those. Or even recently, like CTR on his channel, he pulled the Gold Star Charizard. I didn't get to really I text Ryan when he pulled that. Like I text him that day and talked about the Charizard and stuff, but I didn't get to ask him about it and the feeling,
Right.
and him to he said it's a PSA 8. We didn't get him to pull it back out and look at it on camera and alive and like,
Yeah.
you know,
Been so
dive
good.
into what you can't do on a 20-minute long video, but you can do it on a 3-hour long podcast. Like the hobby was robbed of those moments. And for that, like I'm sad. And like
I agree with you. We're right there with you. I don't know if you want to speak to it. If not, we can pass. But Flip Flop was talking about why
yeah,
CTR left.
Ryan's talked about it on other channels. That's his story
I've heard
to
it.
tell,
Yeah.
not mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. CTR's watery ass beers.
Yeah. So that he says that because of me. I don't know if you knew that.
I know, because
Yeah.
you were drinking before the whole Budweiser thing, right? You were
Yeah.
drinking
Yeah.
Budweiser. Yeah.
I just crushed Bud Lights, and that was another thing too.
Bud
Like I
Light.
would
Yeah,
just
so
go
bad.
on the live and just we'd all just get blitzed. So by the end, it was just my wife would get so mad at me sometimes. She'd wake up and be like, "How many beers did you drink last night?" One time I drank like 16 beers on a live, and she's like, "You drank 16 beers?" And I was just like, oh, "Sorry, honey." Like, okay, I'll get up with the kid now. It's 7 a.m. Like, so,
Yeah.
but we were just just fun friends doing degen stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't regret any of it. Like even when there was drama that happened on those lives, it was the best thing that ever happened to my channel, which is as sucky it is as to say. Like even drama brought clicks, and I found that out. I got a lot of YouTube lessons from that podcast too. So
Yeah.
at one time,
I'm trying to navigate away from those. Those are not.
hey man,
I
sometimes they
don't
drive
enjoy
the
it.
clicks, whether you want them to
Yeah.
or not. I got like 1/6 of all my subscribers came from that. It was like wild. Like,
Really.
yeah, people were like, "This is the death of PK," and then next thing I know, I was like, "PK got like 500 subscribers overnight."
Oh,
I'm
I'm
like,
alive.
"Oh, okay." I guess it's not the end of it, but
Java brought you Welcome, Dan. Good to have you, brother. I'm guessing it's a little bit of a raid here. Welcome, everybody.
It just shows you where Dan's loyalties are. They go to Java, not with
Exactly.
us. That's all right,
No
Dan.
worries. That's all right, Dan. We still love you, buddy.
I've only
Still love
said
you.
negative things about you this live, Dan, so I want to keep piling on.
We got Walrus in the chat. Good to see you, Walrus. Thanks for stopping by, my friend. Yeah. Oh, good stuff. I think that takes us into a pretty good point, and it's in the mix of the things I had in mind. But what do you think the responsibility is for us as content creators to the audience?
Like, expand on that question more. Like, responsibility as as it
What we
pertains,
deliver.
as it pertains to what?
As it pertains to delivering something to the audience, whether that be entertainment, whether that be something that's truthful and founded in some sort of values that we believe in this hobby. When you go to create a video or start a live, I know you don't think about it anymore because you've done so many, but I'm sure in the beginning you had a thought to say, well, what am I going to speak about today, and what's the impact on people who are going to watch this, and am I going to articulate that correctly? And so now that's secondhand nature for you, I think, for the most part. But for those that are starting out, for those that are still relatively new, what do you think that responsibility is as a content creator, if any at all?
I mean, there's definitely a responsibility. I guess I keep circling in my head how I would answer this, but I guess it just keeps winding back to, like, what is the content you're making? Like, for YouTube and Pokemon content as a whole, I'm just looking at all the content creators, and it's like, I look at like a Real Breaking Nate. Like, what is his responsibility? His responsibility is to bring
Have a
like
blast.
entertainment and to bring what does he call it? Positive vibes.
Yeah,
Like,
positive vibes and
yeah,
positivity. Yeah.
I don't tune in for him to hear like the craziest, nichiest knowledge on some old, Nintendo set or some variant or some far-fetched box topper from EX Emerald. Like, I that was a bad example, but
Yeah,
any,
that's pretty well.
yeah, just any the one I talk about on my channel a lot is the TV reporter reverse hollow from EX Dragons. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why is that card important? What print run did it come out in? Was it mainly available in the United States? All this stuff? Was it available in the UK? Like, I don't go to Real Breaking Nate for that. I go for positive vibes. So for him, it's positive vibes. For CTR, again, I go there for his knowledge, but you go there for entertainment.
Right.
And then for my channel, my responsibility is just to, like, make sure you understand that everything I say on my channel is my opinion and strictly that. And I say that all the time. Like, if you
Yeah.
watch my videos, I stop multiple times and go, just so
Yeah.
you know, this is my opinion. You don't come to my channel for the analytics. Like, you want numbers and spreadsheets, like, that's Danny Phantom.
Somebody else. Yeah.
I don't pull up like the TCG player chart. I'm talking to you like, this is how I feel the market's going on right now. Like, so my responsibility is to, like, give people the way I feel. Like, that's what I feel like my responsibility is. Danny's responsibility is to give people like the data. PokeRev's like
Staying true to
responsibility is
yourself.
PokeRev's responsibility is to entertain. That's his responsibility. Again, he doesn't need all that, nitty gritty type stuff. And then, Scott Pratt's responsibility is to give the history of the hobby, and like the more older mindsets and how does the old mindset transition into today. And you need to take all this content from all these people and pick out these little snippets from each one of them and turn it into your own to, like, become however you want to interact with this hobby. But yeah, I mean, everyone has a different responsibility.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone has a responsibility not to blatantly lie.
Right. Right. That's the more generic point of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
mean,
the
if you're putting out
summarization of
false,
your previous points are staying true to yourself.
yeah, and there's other people out there who my problems with them is that they portray information like incorrectly, or they misstrew data or misstrew people's words, and then they'll like, do the whole like straw man argument on people, or just blatantly misrepresent people's stances. I have 1,000 hours worth of live content. You could say PK loves modern, or you can say PK hates modern. But to be honest with you, the answer lies somewhere in between. And it's the same thing with vintage. Like, you listen to enough of my content, you could pull snippets out and say, PK hates this hobby. Like, if you wanted, you could run a compilation of me just shitting on Pokemon and be like, no one in the history of this hobby hates Pokemon more than PK, if you want to pull my words out of context. So,
Fully
but
agree. Fully agree. And I've seen those comments, and like, especially as I look through all your old content, like, all right, I see the changes in perspective over the years.
well, give me an example,
Definitely.
because I don't think I've had a change. So what are you referring to?
Uh, I definitely think that the value that you've placed on modern has been more vocal over the past 2 years versus your
See,
first
I
year.
think I built my channel talking about modern.
You built your channel with the perspective of modern, but a value of vintage.
Interesting. Do you have any examples you can think of?
I mean, most of like the thing when you were opening packs and stuff, it was all at the time. You were opening like Lost Origin and other things, and that's what you would show. You weren't opening. I mean, you for example, you showed the pack that you found. I forget which pack it was.
Sandstorm?
Which set? Yeah, yeah. When you went through and you found the pack, it was open, but all the original cards were still there. But I mean, with that one aside, most of the things you showed in terms of opening was mostly modern.
Hmm.
But when you spoke about what you cared about the most and what you saw the most value in, it was vintage. And that's not to
Interesting.
say that it was good or bad. It just
Yeah.
was the perception. And here, more recently, I think more for different reasons, you've
See,
stated to the public that you really see a value in vintage, and you made a point to call that out. I don't think you felt the need to call that out before.
I think when those videos you're describing, the problem is I felt that modern at the time. So if you watch my earlier videos, did you hear me talk about Cosmic Eclipse on every single video?
No,
Because I mentioned Cosmic Eclipse, like that's what my channel was based off of. Was
that
talking
was
about
one of your favorites. You didn't
was
actually. Yeah, I
talking
heard
about
you
the
say you didn't like Team Up that much. I was surprised. I
yeah.
was like, wow.
But I love
I did,
Cosmic Eclipse. Like I
yeah, you
wasn't a
did.
big team up guy, but I love Cosmic.
Yeah.
And I talked about the value in Cosmic Eclipse. And during that time, what I was doing was saying that I thought a lot of the Sword and Shield era product, when it came to especially the singles, were overvalued. And that ended up being
Yes, you did.
a
Yeah.
dominating standpoint when you look at all-time high sales of, the Rainbow Rare Pikachu from Vivid Voltage, or when you look at the Charizard from Darkness Ablaze. Those all-time sales that were happening were when I was making those early videos. And I was saying,
Mm,
listen, this hyper rare Pikachu is not a $1,500 card in the PSA 10. It's not.
yeah.
This Charizard regular VMAX from Darkness Ablaze is not a $500 card. All the crazy hits people are like the gold cards from Sword and Shield, which hit
Yeah.
all-time highs. And I didn't believe in any of that stuff. When um like Vivid Voltage hit $260,
A box. Yeah.
$280 per booster box, I did not believe in that. So all those things ended up being true. But
Yep. I
it's
fully
all
agree.
about what the context is in the moment.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
Cosmic Eclipse was not available when I was making videos, and I was telling people to buy Cosmic Eclipse at $150 a booster box, and people were calling me stupid because they were saying it was going to get reprinted. Because when I was making those videos, we were only 1 year removed from
Hmm.
Cosmic Eclipse. 1 year. So if you look back, that would be like me making the argument for Scarlet and Violet base being reprinted, and you telling me, no, PK, invest in Scarlet and Violet base because it's not going to get reprinted. And then, like, it's the same timeline. So, like, I feel like
Yeah.
I was pro modern, with exception of don't buy stupid stuff. So,
Yeah. 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 let's maybe change that slightly to say you favored your vintage more, and I understood why. It made sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually even watched your Leonhardt openings.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a couple. I bought two of those. So
Yeah, you bought
that was
two.
because
Yeah.
I was trying to grow my channel subscribers,
Yeah.
and I thought that
But
those openings would get me subscribers. And it, one of the people that got Professor Oak.
Drew? Oh, okay.
Professor Oak told me he found me through that opening,
Really?
so it
Oh,
worked.
great connection story.
Yeah, it was all worth it.
Yeah. He got a signed Leonhardt card too, so it's perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I got a signed
Um,
Nazi from Skyridge.
I was wanting to go back into it because we touched on it lately, and I told you I was going to talk about it. One of my favorite videos from you is that CTR video, and that was just so hilarious. I've watched that probably 3 or 4 times. I'm not even lying. One of the things I look at that video because it feels, I won't say out of character so much for you, but it's out of your public figure for recording, perhaps is a better way to say it. How long did it take you to record that? Did you do it all in one shot? Did you have to retake a bunch of things? Talk me through a little bit of that.
So the intro when you hold the glass up, and
Yeah,
it's like, I forget, what does he say? He's like, and welcome, or whatever. His little intro he does.
that was your intro.
Yeah, I kept stuttering over it, and every time I would take a sip out of this glass, and it just kept going down a little bit. And when I started the video, I wanted the glass to be
A full
full.
glass.
So by
Yeah.
the end of the video, I drank the whole glass. But because I kept messing up the beginning and I would take a bunch of sips, there's all this alcohol I was drinking before the live starts. So, and then by the time I finally got it right, it was a full glass and I took the sip. So that was the only thing I messed up. And the rest was just one long take.
Really?
And then
Wow.
I was like
Congrats.
cutting my V-neck in the middle and stuff. So I had to edit
Yeah,
all that
yeah.
stuff out. But yeah,
Right, right.
I mean,
Did,
it's a pack open. You can't mess up a pack opening,
no.
So
You go
it's,
through it or you don't. Yeah, you skip it
yeah,
or open another one.
yeah.
Did you bounce ideas off of people for that?
No,
Did you talk to Nick or anybody else, or
nope,
did you tell CTR you were going to do it?
nope,
No.
no. Yeah, no clue. He
He
had
was
no clue.
surprised.
So
I
I
love
guess,
it.
I think if I remember the story correctly, Nick, Pokerev, text Ryan and was like, "Did you see this video that PK put out or something?" And then Ryan hadn't even seen it, and then he watched it. But I think that's how he found out. And then it was funny because Rev was one of the few people that realized that the V-neck kept getting deeper
Yeah.
until like at the very end, it was just this giant,
You
like,
basically almost showing nipples.
yeah,
What was the reason behind the opening of the V-neck? Because that was that and a few other key points. That was such a cherry on top of this
yeah.
video creation. What was the reason to cut the V-neck? What was your thoughts?
It was just because during the live we used to always give Ryan shit because if you don't know, he only he owned a bunch of V-necks, but for his live, he said
He
there was
wore the
only
same one.
one V-neck that the lighting worked good on, so he would wear the same shirt for every single live. So it became just a joke, and the V-neck and everything. So I just had to go with it.
What was in the glass?
Uh, Captain Morgan. So it wasn't Scotch; it was rum
Okay.
because I'm not a Scotch fan and I like rum. But
But
I mean,
you got smashed by the end, yeah?
oh yeah, I mean, I was feeling a pretty good. It was a pretty decent highball glass, so. And it was funny, like to get all the stuff for that, like.
The backboard and everything.
Yeah. So, this is the trash can that I used for it, and it's actually spray painted with gray Rust-Oleum because it was an orange trash can. I couldn't find a gray silver one, so I had to spray it with Rust-Oleum, and then
I
getting
love
all
it.
the styrofoam and stuff. I had to go to Michael's or whatever, one of the craft stores, and like it was like a process. And then I had to order the wig on Amazon, like the cheapest one. It's a Guy Fieri.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's what the wig is.
That's
And
perfect though.
it was a process and like to build everything. And then I literally filmed it here, but I just stacked a bunch of totes here.
Oh, did
And
you?
then I got
Okay.
yeah, it was right here. And I just stacked a bunch of totes. And then, yeah, it was just, I knew it was going to be fun and I knew people would get a kick out of it. And people did. And I think if once in a while you got to really surprise people. And I think when that video came out, nobody was ready for it, and I think that's as important, you know.
Yeah, very much agree. When I saw that, I was like, out of nowhere, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Did you realize how hard it was to flick a card? I mean,
Mm,
because you did a very poor job.
yeah, it was hard. It is harder. Yeah, I give Ryan credit for that. Yeah.
I tried myself just to see, like, is it that really that hard? It's actually pretty hard because they're
Yeah,
so light they just kind of flutter in the wind. So
I'm
you
better
have
at it
to.
now. Yeah, I should have practiced before that live, but I was just so happy when I had all the stuff all ready. So.
Yeah. Did you get a glimpse of Ryan's world? Did you want to go into it deeper and say, hey, you know what? This is how I want to open Pokemon cards. This is it for me.
I
Like,
realized the
was it that
struggles
much
he
fun?
goes through. Like, I mean, yeah. Listen, there's a
Uh,
reason. There's only one cool trainer, Ryan. Man, he's not
fully
gonna.
agree.
He's not one to be easily duplicated. You know.
Fully agree. Do you have any more in the works? Anybody else you're gonna imitate?
No, no,
Anything?
nothing. I thought about
Oh
like
man.
making some really mean ones on some people, and I like held back on it.
But you could do some more playful ones, like you did this one. Yeah,
Yeah,
give it some thought. Maybe one more for one per year. Do one
yeah,
for 2024.
yeah. Well, Rattle one
Give
would
it
be
some thought.
good.
That would be good.
So,
That would be good. That would be easy to pull off too.
yeah, Rattle
Green
would be good.
screen.
A
Yeah.
Dan would be good. I would dress up as
Yeah.
like the Tin Man, like just as a robot. Just be like,
Okay.
like talking about the Pokemon hobby.
Yeah,
Uh,
but you have to start by getting off your lawnmower,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
pulling like a
I
trailer
thought
of
about
Pokemon cards.
I thought about doing a Pokerev one where like I like well I just repack like a base set pack or something and like pull the Charizard hit and then I just start screaming at the camera and but I just keep screaming and then it it like starts showing scenes of me doing different things like I'm taking a shower but I'm still screaming about the Charizard and like I'm laying in bed I'm sleeping but I'm still screaming and then till like eventually like I'm back at here and I'm just like ah! Like I don't stop like that
That would be
overreaction.
good. That would be good.
The
That
rest
that
of
would
the
probably
time
be a good short though. That'd be a good
yeah,
short.
yeah. So I thought
Yeah,
of a few people.
that'd be good, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of it's playful, some of it would come off a little mean.
Dan says, make the mean ones.
Uh
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff, man. Let's move into just a little bit. I won't go too much because you've done a lot on it already, and I don't want to repeat on it. But go a little bit into grading. One of the things that many of us that grade think about is the different companies and different approaches that we go through, and which companies we use for which purpose. Do you? And I noticed a long time ago you actually graded 250 plus with GMA.
300 plus,
300
350.
plus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best play I
Uh,
still to this day best play I've ever done in this hobby, which is crazy to think about. What a wild time.
but I don't hear anything else from you. So, do you, in terms of GMA, so do you actually have different companies you use for different purposes? Are you all a PSA guy now? We obviously know the
No.
story with CGC, but
Well,
anything
I mean,
else?
the GMA, that's I was always a PSA guy before GMA. That was in the moment type thing. So
Mm,
during during like the crazy hype and when I started making my channels when I was selling the most stuff because that's when the market was buying the most. My issue was inventory. I had no
mm. Shut up,
uh,
Professor Up.
excuse me. My issue at the end of like 2020, early 2021 was just strictly an inventory issue. I had no inventory left. And at the time, PSA was getting ready to shut down. They didn't shut down until technically February 2021, but the writing was on the wall. We knew what was going to
Mm,
happen. Turnaround times at that point were already absolutely ridiculous. We are hearing rumors that CGC's turnaround times were potentially longer than their advertised 30 days. It ended up being 8 months. Thanks a lot, CGC. But then at the same time, GMA had true 20-day turnaround times, not 20 business days, 20 days. So
wow.
I sent them 100 cards as like a test, just cards that look just like this, like just bulk, well played, light played, Watsy,
See what you're gonna get.
bulky, like 5 cent, 10 cent cards, and they had $4.50 graded. So, yeah,
Wow.
you had to send a minimum of 100 cards to get $4.50, and I sent them 100 as just a test, and they sold in a day, like 100 slabs. I was selling them in lots of 10, and just
Wow.
GMA 6s and 8s. I only got, so out of all the GMA slabs I ever sent out of 350, do you know how many 9s I got? 1. That means I graded 349 cards that were not 9. They were not, that were 8.5 or less. So I was selling these babies at crazy, 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 crazy premiums. Like, I was doing the lots of 10s. And so what is a lot of 10? So $4, so $45 for grading fees, another 50 cents worth of cards. Like, and
Right.
they were going up in auction. I was selling some of the lots of 10 for 168, 210, 220. It was wild how much
Wow.
these lots were selling for. And still to this day is my best play I ever made. But then GMA changed their fee structure. So then they went from $4.50 a card, and then they went to like $6.50. And by that point, I was like, I'm going to be out. I'm going to start grading with CGC. And then I started grading with CGC, and then CGC just, because then I sent premium cards to CGC. I sent the crap to GMA, and it was just get it on the market,
Right.
Best play I ever did.
Inventory.
I think about it. Believe it or not, I still think about it once in a while because of how great it was. And then I sent a bunch of cards to CGC and just got
That was the infamous burn.
destroyed. And so far from my original CGC submission, all the cards that I thought were undergraded, I currently have 100% crossover rate to PSA and 10s. So I'm still working through those cards, how badly I got undergraded. And then that created the PK hates CGC monster. And people are
we all
still giving
have
me,
today.
they're like, show me on the Clefairy doll where CGC hurt you, PK. And I always point right at its ass, and I'm like, that's where its wallet is. That's where he hurt me. So yeah.
Do you leverage the different grading companies for different purposes today in terms of how you go through selling and kind of partitioning what you have in inventory out to the market? Do you
No.
use
I mean, I've
PSA
now
all the way?
submitted probably over 100 cards to Beckett through the Z&G Emporium consignment service. Just going black label hunting, destroyed. No black labels. Like, I
Nothing.
was sending only like super clean, minty Chinese quality cards. Got destroyed. So many 9.5s, so many 10s, the random 9, the random 8. But yeah, other than that, it's just I go PSA. Good turnaround times, $15 grade, and still holds a good premium. That's where I am at right now.
With your recent, cracking of slabs and some of the unveiling that you've done, you can't help but ask the basic question, and maybe I missed the in-depth answer. I've heard you mention it, but I didn't hear the in-depth answer. But do you see this unfolding into a lack of trust in all slabs? Now, obviously, as we've said, and you said, the majority of people don't know. They're not going to see it. They're not going to understand. They're still going to buy it. But for those who know, do you think there's going to be this massive distrust that's going to unfold now over time with graded cards in general? More so than the
how
past?
how much resealed product is out there that people don't know is resealed, can't identify a reseal?
True.
Tons of packs.
Good analogy.
Does it prevent people from buying vintage packs? Ask Dan Catchmall Collectibles at Collecticon when somebody walks up to his table. Does knowing that so much packs are resealed and blisters are resealed, shadowless blisters are resealed with glue sticks, and booster box are resealed, and tins are resealed and searched,
True.
and packs are searched, and packs are weighed, and you name whatever scummy thing you can do with a pack in this hobby has been done and continues to get done daily in this hobby. And it's going to not prevent anybody from buying a vintage pack. And it's the same way with the graded market.
Good point.
It's just,
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, a lot of it is people think it won't be me. I won't be the
I'm
one.
sorry.
They always think they won't be them.
Oh, okay.
They won't be the one that gets scammed. It won't be them. I do my due diligence. I had somebody ask earlier today in the Rattle Discord. If you guys aren't in the Rattle Discord, I highly recommend joining it. But somebody posted a box of Sun and Moon base, had the Pokeball wrap, was being sold at an LGS. I took one glance at it, like as quick as you could look at the photo, fake. $250 price tag on it. The guy wasn't sure if it was real or fake. So you have an LGS selling fake
Not
booster
knowing,
boxes.
probably. I'm
And
sure
it
that they
says
probably didn't know.
it literally on the back of the booster box it says English booster box made in China. Like you can't even make that stuff up. Like it's just the colors are all off and all these stuff. But you even an LGS or maybe LGS, maybe like a sports card store, these guys don't know Pokemon like we do.
No.
And I find that out more and more every day. I take for granted so much that I think other people in this hobby know. But if you can't identify a fake booster box that on the back it says made in China, like we're in for trouble, But
we are.
Then I went on eBay and I was just curious, like, are anybody selling these? The number one listing that popped up was a Sun and Moon base set booster box with a sponsored listing for $300, and it was a fake booster box. Like you could go on, search it. There was a guy with like a 14 feedback on eBay, had a sponsored listing for a $300 fake Sun and Moon, or sorry, what have I been saying? Sun and Moon base set booster box. It's wild.
It's a good point, and you're right. They don't stop buying. They're going to continue to buy from that perspective. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not. And if you know me any at all, I'm not a huge man. I've graded for my own collection. I'll do it to flip a few things and make the profit. But it definitely sets the speculation in, and I'll be looking with a lot more careful eye anytime I look at any graded cards in the future. That's for sure. Maybe I should have been doing it the whole time, but I'll be doing it a lot more than I ever did before. That's for sure. One of the other things I wanted to ask you as you went through this whole CGC Kraken fiasco, do you think you're biased? Because I was talking with Java Guma in one of his lives this week, and he kind of brought it up as a spicy take. But do you think your bias played a role in how you approach the other slabs and the other companies?
No,
in terms of how you approached and cracking them and the effort you took to it, or
no, absolutely not. The effort was there. Like I just couldn't crack the other slabs. I could crack CGC slabs. The whole problem is a PSA and a Beckett slab. The Beckett slabs, they have like this lip that goes around this Beckett slab.
So you can't reach the seam. Yeah.
You just can't get to the seam. Same thing with PSA. I just wasn't able to get to it. I couldn't get a clean break. I just frosted it. And I complimented Beckett slab. I don't like Beckett as a company. I'm not a Beckett collector. And I said that they have the best slab. So I don't know where the bias is there. And then, I hear people have some weird takes. They're like, PK doesn't talk about so this is one thing people will do. If you make a video talking about the problems with PSA, that will be it. It will end there. And nobody will mention CGC, But if you make a video talking about CGC and just have it focused on CGC, people will put in the comments, why don't you talk about all the issues with PSA? And it's like, did you watch the video? Like that wasn't the topic of the video. I went back 3 videos earlier during the live. I talked about Zhao, the guy from China, who was cracking PSA slabs who was putting real cards in fake slabs with real labels. I literally talked about that. 2 videos before people were commenting, how come PSA doesn't talk about the issues with PSA? Rattle, who's one of my moderators, was in the chat. I said, Rattle, can you please link that video?
Yeah,
So
I remember. Yeah.
and then that's literally me in a video talking about the dangers of fake PSA slabs. And then people will have the balls to 2 videos later say, PK never mentions the problem with PSA. And it's like, what is going on? What is going on? Do I live in this fake fairyland? It's like people just want to hear what they want to hear. The problem is too is a lot of times people make videos, and I can make a video, but all I'll do is parrot all the things that they are saying. Rattle makes good videos. A month ago, you can go back and type in, I want to say the title of his video was something like how to get your money back from PSA if they damage your cards. I think that was the name of the
Yeah.
video. And the whole
Yeah.
video was talking about Swolepoke submitted a versus series Umbreon. PSA damaged it. And Rattle made a whole 40-minute long video talking about how PSA damaged Swolepoke's Umbreon. He had a video of him pulling it. You can tell that the damage was created after the fact. There was a huge video about it. People will still say like Rattle is like a PSA lover somehow. Nobody hates grading more than Rattle. The thing is Rattle a month ago made an entire video on how to get your money back if PSA damages your cards. I don't feel I could add anything to that conversation because at that point, I will literally just be parroting all Rattle's points, you know? And I'm a believer, if you're a subscriber to my channel and you're not a subscriber to Rattle's channel, I talk about him all the time. Great videos. That's their loss. But I could talk about the issues and PSA damaging cards, or, you know, I saw Java Akuma rated this. Java made a video talking about how they damage his cards. Other people made videos.
Yeah.
What I would, they've never damaged my cards like that. So I would make a live and I would just parrot and steal all Java's things and then have to portray them in a way that I did the research and I didn't. That's not the truth. I didn't do the research Rattle did about Swolepoke, how to get your money back if PSA damages your cards. He did a whole 40-minute video. How do you get your money back? Java made a great video. PSA damaged my cards. What do I add to that? Like, I talk about this stuff all the time on my lives, but like people will still say PK's bias. You think I'm going to sit here and tell you that I've had Nat Turner on my channel, the president CEO of PSA. During that live, I asked him about PSA damaging cards. And then Nat Turner told me straight up on the video, he goes, listen, with the amount of cards we handle daily, it's impossible for we pretty much said it's impossible for us not to damage some cards.
Yep.
Like, and then in that video, he also talks about one of the ways that they're doing it is a lot of the issues is during excuse me, during the encapsulation process where they have a new centering tool that like is like an electronic laser thing where if it's not perfectly centered, he talked about this. I pushed the president and CEO of PSA asking them about PSA damaging cards. Like Rattle makes hour-long video. I have Rattle link his video in the live chat. I mentioned it 2 videos before people are commenting. There's just some stuff in this hobby that I can never win. People, because this is the thing. The same people that will tell me PK only ever talks negative about CGC, I swear to God, I can't make this shit up. I swear to God, and I think I need to put this person on blast on my next live. The person that wrote that comment on my channel, I went to Java's video. He commented on Java's video and said, I would never grade my cards with PSA. So the dude who is so biased for me put a comment on Java's video saying how he was biased towards PSA. And it's like, but this is the thing. this is a interview towards me, so I don't have to do this on my channel. But like, this is my thought process. It's, you will never make the people happy because they will only ever hear what they want. Even when I told Rattle to link his video about Zhao, like making fake PSA slabs this week. I'm not talking about this is a video that I made a year ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember me saying that? It was this week in a live.
You were actually trying to remember the guy's name. You couldn't remember the name.
I couldn't remember the guy's name. And then I asked the chat, and then
yeah.
I had Rattle link the video. It's like, what are people doing? Like, do you guys like even know my channel? Do you know me at all? Or do you, and then the question is, are the people making the comments, do they not watch my channel at all? Like, I don't know. But people will tell me I'm the most biased person that ever like lived, and all I care about is PSA, because PSA is where like all my collection is and stuff. And it's like, yeah, well, I collect PSA slabs, but I don't like CGC because they're a bad company. And in fact, the thing I care least about is the value of the slabs. Everything I care about is the integrity of that company. And if you go back and listen to all my lives, I've made it a point, and I've not just subconsciously, I've consciously gone out of my way to never mention that CGC slabs sell for less than PSA slabs. And if I have let it slip, maybe I've let it slip, but I've consciously tried not to do it. Anytime you hear me rant about CGC, I talk about the Chumlee incident. I talk about Matt Quinn, the CEO. I talk about how the Perfect 10 used to be behind a paywall. I talk about all their accounting issues that they had. I talked about the fact that the slabs could be resealed. I never mentioned the value of CGC slabs. And I want to say that that is the most important thing about CGC, but I go out of my way to not mention it just because I want to show everyone that they are a bad company. And the price of their slabs and what they sell for, in my opinion, doesn't reflect the company. That just, it reflects the hobby as a whole and consumer confidence and how consumers value grades. So,
fully agree.
But people will run with whatever narrative works best for them. And if the narrative that works best for them is PK never talks about the problems with PSA, even though I do, they will. And if they're mad that I didn't like parrot Java's video and just steal all his content and make it into a live of my own, I mean, if you guys want that, I'll do that. And, you know, I don't know.
CGC to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it is what it is.
No. And I think it also stems from the fact that there's so much content, PK, that the nuances we say 2 videos ago, 3 videos ago, not to mention a year ago, they won't be caught up. And so even though we may have shared our perspective on what we think about a certain point of view, and then we don't share that in every single video, they watch one video, they're going to lose the perspective and they're going to lose the context. So it's a battle you will not win. I
made a video once comparing slabs of different slab companies. Do you know what company I said had the best slab? CGC. CGC. But yet people tell me it's like, come on. I mean, now I like Beckett because I think Beckett's the hardest to reseal. But when it comes to actual quality of slabs, CGC has the nicest slab. It will be a cold day in hell before you ever hear me saying PSA has the nicest slab, you know?
Well, but they're going to redo it, right? So we'll see. We'll see what it looks like when they get it all redone.
As long as the new PSA slab, you can't do this to it, we'll be fine.
Well, moving on to a fresh topic, but actually one that you talked about quite a lot, and that's more from a market perspective, and that's looking at Black Swan events. So I want to just kind of have a quick idea bounce off of you a little bit and see where it goes. You know, one of the things you've mentioned before as a Black Swan event was the idea of the pandemic recreating itself, and the concept that probably will never happen again.
Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Well, definitely not in the sense of the pandemic itself.
Yeah,
for sure. But in terms of the growth of the Pokemon hobby that happened during that time is what I'm more referring to. So let me clarify. I do not want the pandemic to happen again. But in terms of the Pokemon growth that occurred, what would have to happen What combination of things in your mind has to happen to recreate that event here in 24, 25, 26?
I mean, one of the things I mentioned is we are a small hobby. If you had I mean, I know a lot of people say Logan Paul had a big impact on the hobby. Other people will downplay it and say Logan Paul had no impact on the hobby. I think Logan Paul, coupled with other content creators, had a huge impact on the hobby. Whether that
Yes.
is Logan Paul, every single Twitch streamer was opening booster boxes. Mishkiff was opening booster boxes. People that don't normally deal in the Pokemon hobby were
Yeah.
opening booster boxes. So it was like a big effect of all these social media influencers and got people collectively. And I think when people say Logan Paul, I think that's what people really mean, is that collective outside
Of
Pokemon
like
content creation space. But I think it gets lumped as
celebrities.
Logan Paul, and people run with it as just him and nobody else. But it was a lot of people all opening boxes at once. And then I think it's going to take a big influencer. The one I always make the joke at is Taylor Swift. If Taylor Swift goes live tonight and opens a booster box of Pokemon cards and tells the world how much she loves Pokemon cards,
That's it.
game
Whatever.
over. We're rich. I get my own private jet. You get your own private jet. Dan gets 5 private jets. We're
We're
sitting
good.
pretty. Rusty gets to buy, I don't know, a a cruise
He gets
ship
to
or
buy
something.
a house on Mars.
Yeah, yeah, a U.S. military grade submarine. Like whatever he wants. Like if we get an influencer like that, because sadly at that point you get a lot of what I call like the dumb money,
Yeah.
and the dumb money drives this hobby way more. I mean, you could look at it in the pandemic, like some of the big cards that stick out, like raw base set Charizards selling in PSA 7 quality condition for $1,000+
Yeah.
That stuff drives the hobby, and that's not the educated buyer. People know Charizard's the hit. They want to buy it. No fundamentals behind that card. How many exist? What's a pop going to look like? Is there enough supply to eventually meet demand? And prices like that retrace drastically. So I think that's what
So
it takes.
Taylor Swift is your
So,
Black Swan event. All right.
something like that. Not her particularly, but it has to be somebody outside of Pokemon, so they're bringing in 100% new amount of people.
And we have I don't know if you've seen it. We have a new Pokemon movie coming out in 2024. So we have a movie coming out. Probably we'll have another game coming out. We'll have some new releases coming out. There'll be a couple of key events that occur at some point this year. And I wonder, because if you look at what happened and the staggered of certain things that occurred, it was interesting to see could that be reproduced? And to your point, celebrities being one of them, a couple of key events of Pokemon releasing of different products is another one. It's interesting to see. I'm
Well,
curious.
those products are mainly like catered towards kids, so that's good at planting the seeds for like the long-term collector. But I think a lot of the kids today are going to run into the same issues we ran into. Like they're going to grow out of Pokemon, and then they'll
Right.
grow back.
Step out.
They'll eventually you grow old enough to grow back
Right.
into Pokemon,
That's
and
right.
like a Pokemon movie, like even an adult movie like Detective Pikachu, was that enough to drive a ton of people in? I'm sure it drove some
Some.
people in, but
Yeah.
when was the last time anybody would talked about Detective Pikachu being this defining moment in the history of Pokemon to create a Black Swan event? Even Pokemon Go,
Yeah.
what it did in 2016 is nothing in comparison to what happened in 2020. Like there was a
Right.
little craziness that happened, but look at booster boxes then, look at the craziness of booster boxes during the pandemic, you know? So,
We'll see. We'll see. Time will always tell. Time will always tell. Hey,
yeah.
Jim. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by, my friend.
We need,
Always
yeah,
happy to see you.
Stanley Pokemon water coolers. I asked my wife about that today. I was like, "What's the deal with these Stanley things? I don't get it. I just
I
don't
didn't see it.
understand it." And she's like, "I don't know." But she's like, "I kind of want one because everyone has one." But She told me, she's like, I don't know, it won't fit in our shells. That's what she said to me. She's like, I can't put it away when I'm not using it.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Did they actually have one?
It's like we have Yeti mugs, like the big Yeti mugs.
It's like
That's
one of
what we
these, the big
use.
ones.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I hadn't seen it.
it kind of looks like that. I don't know. I don't get it. But then again, I like collect Pokemon cards, so I could see where other people might not understand what I do either.
Hey,
Another thing for
go ahead.
Black Swan events too is,
Yeah,
sadly in this hobby you need big sales, because big sales are the eye-catching thing. And for the people re-entering the hobby, they're going to be like, they're going to see a Pikachu, illustrator, and they're going to go, I had that card growing up. It's underneath my bed. It's in my shoebox. I had that exact Pikachu illustrator card. And like, it's like you didn't have it, but maybe that's enough
nice
for
try.
you to like get in because you saw the high dollar amounts. And then they go in their grandma's basement and they go in their parents' attic and they pull out that shoebox full of Pokemon cards, and then it brings them down the rabbit hole, and then that helps too. So
They end up watching PK and lose hours and hours of their
yeah,
life.
and lose. Yeah. So for everybody out there, I'm sorry already. You already lost a lot of your time.
Yep. But
But
we're
little
3
things like
hours
that
and 5
help with
minutes
that.
in.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but fully agree. Fully agree. When we think about this in terms of the market, because you've also spoken recently that we're in a buyer's market, and I fully agree with you. We talked about it actually earlier in the episode. How long do you think we're going to be here? Where do you think the next segue is? Do we move back into a seller's market? Do we move back into a collector's? What do you foresee in your? Oh, by the way, I need you to ask your crystal ball, your Magic 8 Ball. I
Oh
was
yeah.
wanting to ask you to pull it out. we got to ask a proper question here. You can't do that without your childhood Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah. This is a whole Magic 8 Ball. What are we asking it though? Are we gonna ask it?
So
So
we're talking, yeah, about the
will
market.
Pokemon recover in the next 6 months?
Yeah.
It says cannot predict now. Hold on, the Magic 8 Ball might actually be working. Let me try one more time. Will the Pokemon market recover in 6 months?
If it gives the same
It
answer,
is
we're moving
certain.
on.
It is certain.
All
So
right. All right.
we got our answer. No, I think it's not an easy question, because it's like, are you talking about raw cards? Are you talking about modern? Are you talking about vintage? Are you talking about semi-vintage? Are you talking
The
graded
hobby.
cards? Are you
The
talking
hobbyist.
sale product? And
Yeah.
then for sale product, what's going to recover the market is print runs. If Pokemon Overnights cuts print runs in half, we're back. We're back, baby.
Right. Right.
If Pokemon Overnight doubles print runs, ugly times it. Dark, stormy clouds. You ever seen the movie Perfect Storm, where that boat's just
Yep.
going up?
Yep.
We're that boat,
The wave.
and a doubling current print waves is that wave. So, it depends on what
I love your
Pokemon.
movie analogies. I absolutely love how you intertwine every possible movie in The Simpsons and
Yeah.
and
So
episode into it. It's perfect.
so that's where we're at right now. And then, the vintage market, you need a lot of the right now we're in the time of oversupply for graded cards. A lot of people rediscovered their collection. They pulled out their binders and they realized if they want to get maximum dollar, that they have to grade these cards, and they did.
Yeah.
And they did it in masses. And we've seen pop reports for some of this vintage
Thanks,
stuff,
Dan.
double, triple. It took us close to 20 years to get some of the pop reports to 40 on a card. And within the year of the pandemic, we saw that population go up to 60, 70 cards. Damn near doubled that pop report in the matter of a year. When it comes to vintage, at that point where you need prices to go up, you just need time, because you need collectors to absorb these cards into their collections and not have them available on the market.
Right.
Like, I'll give you an example. If you had 100 cards that exist in PSA 10, but you had 101 people want that card, as long as those 100 cards get locked away and you have one person looking for it, prices for that card are going to go pretty crazy, because supply versus demand, right? Right now, we're just in a time for graded, for especially vintage, where for some of this stuff, supply is just outweighing the demand. But given time, collectors will acquire these cards, lock them up, and then once they're no longer available on the market, then the vintage stuff will rise. And then for the modern stuff, we're running into a weird headwinds of, do people actually care about this modern stuff, or do they just care about the newest
The
and
money.
shiniest
Yeah.
thing? And once the newest and shiniest thing comes out, do they move away from this stuff? So then now, when I talked about populations of cards in the 60s and 70s and 10s, now when you move into populations of cards in the thousands to potentially tens of thousands, you think about the Charizard promo from Champions Path, 60,000 plus of those cards graded. If demand starts to wane from cards like that, and then cards like that sit on the market forever, then what happens, So we're just in a wait and see period right now, in my opinion. So how is it going to wind up? You just need time for vintage. Time's a big one. And then for modern, you need low print runs.
Okay.
I'm
You
telling
think
you,
we move back into a seller's market from buyers?
if
Where's the next kind of?
I think so. All the people that thought they were sellers, thought they were quote unquote Pokemon investors, if those people lose money, you need to shake those people out. Once you shake those people out, then the competition dries up and then you can make money again. The problem is that's going to be cyclical. Once
Yeah.
you push out all these
Do
people
it
who can't
again.
make money anymore, you'll start making money again. Once people see you are making money again, they're all going to pile back
They're
in,
gonna
and
get
you
back
have
in.
to keep just this circle.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's a great segue over to, and you mentioned it actually, Pokemon's print runs in terms of just cards put out per year has been massive, and you've seen the numbers. It's been year over year for the last 2 years, mostly the same, and the largest numbers they've ever put out. Do you think we're going to be able to absorb that? I think even, if I'm not mistaken, who was it that made a comment about it? Rudy. I think Rudy made a comment about it, about that he talked to his distributors, and they think that the print runs are going to be pulled back a little bit in terms of Pokemon. What do you think the market absorption is for what's currently being put out by Pokemon? I think it's too much raw cards hitting the shelves.
No, no.
No.
In right now we're in a good spot, believe it or not. And I know a lot of people don't really want to hear that, but I've walked into my Targets and Walmarts lately, and I can't get every set. Like, I've walked in recently, and 151 wasn't available on the shelves. That is
Yeah, you
not
can't
the
get it. No.
norm. Like,
Same
there's
here.
still enough demand that people are buying up these sets. I can't buy like pretty much. I mean, you can buy a couple like the weaker performing sets of Sword and Shield. Like you could get like random stupid 2-pack blisters. I saw like a Chill and Rain pack in it and a Fusion Strike pack
A
in it.
lot of
Like,
those, yeah.
and you could spend eleven
I see
ninety
those
nine
too.
to get that 2-pack blister at Target. I saw, but you can't go get Evolving Skies and stuff. And anytime there's a product with those in there, they get
Yeah.
eaten up. Like we're still living in this time of such crazy demand. It's just, I don't think people truly realize what bad times in this hobby look like. Bad times is when you walk into Walmart and there's
There's a
a
fist fight.
clearance section of Pokemon. Right now, I walk into my Walmarts and nothing's on sale. Maybe I'm unlucky. My Walmarts are, never have clearance, but you will come to the day when everything is on clearance and it still doesn't move off the shelves. So
Right.
I think Pokemon has
We're still
actually like
moving.
a like good pulse of the market. Now, we're getting into dangerous territory because a lot of LGSs can't make money and stuff, like especially with this modern product.
Yeah.
So
Low prices. Yeah.
so that's something that like Pokemon as a company is going to have to deal with for like the smaller retailer. But the Walmarts and Targets, they're so happy.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine there's got to be some rep that works at the Walmart corporate office and Target corporate and who has the direct line to MJ Holding. Can you imagine the phone calls they had with them saying, "Why are my shelves empty? We are Walmart. We are Target. We are not in the business of having empty shelf space in our stores.
Yeah.
What are you doing right now, MJ Holdings? What are you doing? Who's the other one? Alliance or whoever stocks Target. What are you doing? And they must have been mother effing them to high heavens. We are Walmart. We do not have empty shelves. I have an empty shelf in every single one of my Targets throughout this country. What's going on? So those people are now happy because not only do they have product hitting their shelves nonstop, that product is moving. They're not marking it down. They're not doing the clearance. So
Nope.
even though the local LGS guys are hurting, the Walmarts and Targets, they're so happy right now. I mean,
I would
they're
agree.
just printing money. Now, these big dollar amount products like your UPCs and stuff like that, I don't know if Walmarts love those because their like
Their
money is
move
going
is
to be
good.
made and
Yeah.
ETBs are less, $50
Yep.
or less, single
Yep.
packs. Nobody moves sleeves blisters like Walmart. Nobody moves sleeve
Fully
blisters
agree
like
with that.
Target. I don't care
Not
who
even
you are out
GameStop.
there in
Yeah, not
Pokemon
even
land. You're not
GameStop.
moving sleeve blisters like those guys. So
Fargus must have the good GameStop near him because he's getting the 151 apparently.
yeah, that's good. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not lucky enough to have that.
Yeah, but
But
I fully agree with you, and I don't see everything either. We go to local WalMarts, Targets, GameStops. It's always something missing. I thankfully I don't see the shelves as bare as it was. There, I would used to go and it was just hit by a tornado. There was nothing, not a single card on the shelf. Now, at least when I take the kids for Pokemon Friday, it's not quite as bad. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Do you see Sword and Shield getting better as we
oh
progress?
yeah,
You know, there's a cycle with Pokemon.
I
Where
made
in the
I made an
beginning,
entire I
yeah,
made an entire live saying that I thought all Sword and Shield booster boxes were
yeah,
undervalued at $200. And
yeah,
I really
yeah.
tried to hammer down that point because I feel like it just gets lost to people. But
And it is, but you know, the question is what's going to come with Sword with Scarlet and Violet as we hit into the next, you know, couple of
oh,
sets after Paldea.
so were you asking
Um,
about Sword and Shield or asking about Scarlet and
I'm
Violet?
sorry, maybe I said Sword and Shield. I meant to say Scarlet and Violet. I apologize. Yeah, how do
Yeah.
you see the future of Scarlet and Violet?
Scarlet and Violet's future is very bright if none of this stuff gets reprinted.
Okay,
Time will be super, super favorable to Scarlet and Violet based Paldea Evolve, definitely. Obsidian Flames, definitely. Paradox Rift, definitely. If these sets do not get reprinted, time will be very, very favorable to those sets. You know why? Because your price entry points right now today are $85 a
low,
booster box.
low.
If these babies get reprinted, game over.
Yeah. Well,
It will take.
I'm actually even more interested in what good sets do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to do what they've done in the past? Let's call it probably Sun and Moon, at least Sword and Shield. The end of the series typically is the best. The
Yeah,
second
so
half, I should say, second half.
so for Sword and Shield, what are you saying? Like starting at Battle Styles, introduction of alternative arts with like the
Alternate
CBP
arts,
and
you start
stuff,
moving into that, and
and
then
then
after that, it gets
Brilliant
really
Stars brought back
good.
character rares, which originally were from Cosmic Eclipse.
And you start moving into that. You end it with Crown Zenith just knocking it out of the park, in my opinion. Just
Mhm.
awesome set. I mean, do you see that repeating? Do we see that coming through in your perspective? All
I mean,
speculation, of course. But yeah,
I think Pokemon has a formula. They're trying to make that formula work. I think they saw the success they had with
yeah,
Hidden Fates, with that baby shining subset. They saw their
yep.
initial success with Shining Fates, and you talk about overprinting. Pokemon said, "You want to see me overprint? Here, hold my
Shining Fates.
beer." And they printed Shining Fates to just the oblivion. Like there were people out there making like talking about how they thought Shining Fates was a good investment and stuff. So like that stuff got printed to all hell. And then now with this Paldea, or what is it? The
I
new
was trying to
shine.
remember. Yeah, the new shiny one.
Oh, Paldea Fates, Paldean Fates. Is that it? Paldean Fates.
Yeah, Paladin Fates. I think
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
So I mean, that's got 100 baby Pokemon in it, Shining subset, and a Charizard, and it's got some beautiful artworks. It's got an awesome ETB, especially with that Mimikyu artwork as the promo. Like that's one of my personal
Yeah,
fan
that's really
favorite.
cool. Yeah.
You know, recently I thought we were, you know, For Hidden Fates, one of the things beautiful about the ETB was the Stained Glass Birds trio. That promo came in it beautiful.
Yeah.
Shining
Still a
Fates
good
with
promo.
the EVV Max, yeah, take it or leave it. I'll leave it. Before that, Celebrations with the Green Ninja, they brought back Gold Stars and they said, "You want a promo for an ETB? Here's a fan
Gold
favorite
Star Greninja.
Pokemon in Greninja, and we made it a Gold Star." Great promo, super hard to grade.
Yeah.
Um, Champion's Path, obviously with the Charizard, I mentioned it earlier tonight. Great promo.
Yeah.
Uh, and then like the Snorlax with 151 is not a great promo. I feel like that's one of like the weaker promos
Really?
that we've seen.
I like
But
it. That's a good one.
yeah, then Pokemon Go had the Mewtwo, which
That was okay. That was okay.
okay, but Pokemon Go just as a set, honestly, it's sad
Oh.
when your ETB promo is one of the best cards in the set. But then moving into this new set, another great promo. Great promos help drive products, man.
I would agree. I would agree. That's a good point. So I think we got some great things coming in Scarlet and Violet, and I think it's gonna be fun to see what unfolds in the next year or two. It's
Yeah,
gonna be awesome.
it's if they go back and they don't reprint this stuff, everyone's gonna kick themselves for not buying in
Not buying more.
$5 a booster box. But if they reprint this stuff, everybody's gonna be like, I just saved myself 3 years of available capital to be buying something else.
Well, PK, we've reached a pinnacle point in today's session, my friend. We're into the rapid fire questions.
Oh boy, I'm not good at
Are
that.
you do you need your bathroom break before we jump in?
How long you think the rapid fire is gonna take?
Rapid fire is not too bad, but then we'll move into the final closures after that.
All right,
So,
let's do it. I'll hold
all
my
right,
pee.
let's go for it. So the first section is name the PokeTuber or person in the Pokemon hobby. So I'm gonna give a
Okay.
little phrase, and you name whoever comes to mind for you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Best community member nobody knows of.
Nobody knows about. Ooh, that's a good one. Colson.
Oh,
Love you,
nice.
Colson.
Good choice.
Shout out to Colson.
Your favorite channel you watch today? Not today, like today, but in general. Like your favorite channel you watch on a frequent basis.
Rattle.
Best navigated ups and downs of the Pokemon market.
Rusty. Made money
Best
when this hobby was trash. Made money when this hobby was great. Still gonna make money when it goes back to trash.
And this may be the same answer, but let's see. Best collection.
Rusty or
Yeah,
Rev. Yeah, Rusty.
Yeah,
Now
okay. I knew you'd say that because of your recent visit.
Yeah.
Someone you never want to be in the same room with if they're angry.
Angry.
Yeah. So if somebody in the hobby got just hot red angry and pissed, you say, I don't want to be here. I want to get out.
Oh, I think that's a good one. Probably I don't know. Honestly, I don't know why he comes to my mind, but I would be afraid of just rock Pokemon. And if I've never seen that man angry. If I made him angry, I feel like I would be in danger. My life would be in
I
danger.
need to go.
He would be the hardest person to make mad. Rock Pokemon.
Call a taxi. I got to get out of
Yeah,
here.
I don't know why.
All right. Best friend. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyways.
Rattle. And
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. Most relatable to the public.
Rusty.
Best at in-person sales.
Dan.
Online sales.
Old card shop.
Nice. Who has the best hair?
Here,
Yeah.
not echo-based collectibles. We're gonna go again with the flowing locks of Old Card Shop.
Okay. Who would you trade places with? Not in your life as a whole, but in the Pokemon space. Who would you want to trade places with?
That's a good one. Rusty. Rusty's got a great family because family's most important to me. So I feel like if whoever has the best family, so Rusty.
Okay. The best outside of the box thinker.
Ooh, good one. Outside of the box. Pass.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
CTR.
Moving.
Go with Ryan.
Okay. All right. Move to some general stuff, but same thing, rapid fire. Sealed, graded, or raw for you, personal? You don't know what it is, obviously, but
Okay. Raw if I'm sourcing. Or no, graded if I source the raw. Yeah, graded, but I have to source the raw. I'm not buying
okay.
graded. I'm sourcing raw and graded.
I like it. Best card in Sword and Shield for future gains.
Future gains. Oh, good question. Right now, where it's currently sitting, I would say I could see Pikachu. If you could get the hyper rare Pikachu from Vivid Voltage cheap, I think you could. I think that could be a $600 card in the future.
Okay, nice answer. I thought you were gonna go with Moonbreon. One thing you would do differently if you could do it over again in the hobby.
Have inventory.
Nice. Your biggest loss in 2023.
Time.
Nice. Biggest purchase you've ever made.
Hmm.
Single purchase.
Chinese Lily collection boxes.
Do you still have those?
Yeah, I have a few of them.
Something about Pokemon you don't participate in, but wish you did. Something about the hobby that you would like to participate in.
I'd like to get into like the playability, like the competitive aspect. The time would not be possible.
Yeah. Biggest missed opportunity so far in the hobby.
Probably passing on, like being ready, or probably passing on PSA 10 Crystal Charizard for like $2,000.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
What would you trade everything for?
like, I guess just for my family to be healthy, but I don't think that's the question you're asking. So,
No,
like
more like
for an item,
another, yeah, another material thing.
I I don't know, money so I could buy my collection back.
Okay. Pikachu or Raichu? Who's gonna win the fight?
Raichu. Oh, Raichu
Raichu.
versus Charizard, Raichu versus Arceus, Raichu
Really?
versus Rayquaza, you name it, he wins.
Ah, disagree, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, I mean, there's a few hills I'm willing to die on in this
Yeah,
hobby. That's
yeah,
one of them. So.
that's one of them. Next big TCG
TCG.
outside of
Ooh.
yeah that you
Uh,
think will survive.
I mean, I think probably Lorcana. Maybe if looking at the current like scope, I like to say that
Okay.
Magic could make a comeback because I don't think Magic will ever die, but I don't think everyone's going to say Magic is the next big TCG. I think people will all agree it's already, but like we could see a revival of Magic.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
for new,
possible.
Lorcana.
Okay. Good answer. What Pokemon do you think will be your kid's favorite when you force them to love it?
Ooh. I don't know. I hope it's like I don't know, probably whatever is the starter they choose whenever they get their first Game Boy game, whatever version will be out. So Gen
Switch,
12,
whatever.
whatever that Gen 12 starter is. Water, fire, or
uh,
grass.
let's hope it's better than Fight Coco.
Yeah.
One of the newer Pokemon that's you think will be popular.
Mimikyu. Well, it's already popular, but that's what I would have said.
Okay.
I guess that's not really that new.
No, I'm thinking like the latest generation, like Scarlet and Violet. What do you think would be one of the popular
I don't know,
Pokemons?
probably like just Roaring Moon or something.
Okay, yeah,
One
probably
of
so.
Yeah.
That's a hot one. All right, all right. So we'll move over now into some personal stuff, and we'll wrap it up to a closure and give ourselves a bathroom break. But if you need to go, let me know. We can take a pause.
I'm good.
So I was curious, and we didn't get a chance to talk about before the call. How long have you been married?
How long have I been with my wife or been married?
Been
Oh my God,
married. Yeah.
you're gonna ask me my anniversary. Been
I'm
married.
gonna ask the day. Rough numbers. Rough numbers.
Been married for 4 years, and we've been together for 11.
Okay. Okay. How did you guys meet?
My freshman year of college, her brother lived on the same floor as me, and then we just met at a party one time. We had a common interest because I knew her brother.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So not necessarily a high school sweetheart, but at least college.
Oh, college,
somewhere
yeah.
in there. Yeah.
I went to an all boy high school, so it would be a little weird if I.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
We'll pass. We'll pass on that one. What does your wife think about this whole endeavor for you in Pokemon and all your collectibles? What's her perspective on it, other than you drinking 16 beers and
No, she's just
being
supportive.
partially worthless?
I
Yeah,
got very lucky. I found a wife that's super supportive for everything I do, and I think most important is my wife trusts me. So she knows
I
I
love that.
do big risks in this hobby, and she knows how important it is. So she's a very, very loyal woman to me, and she's very, very much out of my league. So I'm a very lucky person in that sense. So
Fully agree.
yeah,
And I think I had a similar comment from Josh when he talked about he told his wife he was going to spend basically the rent money,
yeah.
mortgage money on a collection, and she's like, "Okay,
No,
I trust you."
make no mistake about it. She will bust my balls about it. Like it's not. She's supportive, but
It's not
she
free
knows
of charge.
she knows when to throw her jabs when she gets her
Yeah,
chance. But no, she's a good one.
yeah, we're still here, Andy. Yeah, we're about to wrap it up, though, buddy. We're about to wrap it up. So thanks for stopping by, man. I want to catch this one. I missed it. Jeff said, "My wife said she would play with me if I got her a deck. You better
Oh
get one, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
go
it's
buy
fun, man.
a cheap 60 card deck.
Yep.
Sitting on the Target shelf.
Me and my wife play all the time, man. It's a great fun. Um, so when we think about this, you're relatively new as a father. You have two, roughly 2 years, 2.5 years or younger. How has that been a big change for your life? I remember that conversations when you were having, I think, setting up the swing set with a couple of friends and kind of preparing yourself, and now you're on with the second one. How has that really changed for you as a person in the hobby, as a husband? What's been the big differences for you?
I think, I mean, honestly, for me, you just realize how one you realize how to love something the way you thought you could never love something. Like it's one thing to say like, what would you do for your kids? It's like, well, I would
Right.
sacrifice myself for my kids. Like
Exactly.
their lives are
Everything.
more valuable than mine, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. And like to care just the most truest type of unconditional love, like for another human being, like that's what I have for my kids. Like they are by far like
It's beautiful.
everything to me. But I think most important is to me is just like in a way leading by example, like being that strong father figure to my kids. And I feel very blessed that I think in the future, like my kids are already like in a way my best friends. So to be able to have that relationship with them as I grow older and they grow older, and to just be with them throughout their journey, which in Pokemon we talk about our Pokemon journey, but their journey is the journey of life. And to be able to be there and to lead them and guide them and help, make them into like good, well-rounded people. And your parents are going to play the biggest impact on you, whether you want to agree with it or not, and whether you believe it or not. Your parents are such a huge influence. So if I could lead my kids to become good people, I could set them up for success. And that success could,
Right.
in theory, be generational. So my kids are successful, and because the way their father raised them, they in turn raise their kids that way, and their kids raise their. So I could be setting up a multiple generations just by being a good father, and like to know that that is a possibility is it's an awesome feeling.
A big weight on the shoulders, but one we're proud to carry. That's
Sure.
for sure. Yeah. Um, have you found it hard to find the balance now? Maybe it's a little easier now that you're on to the second one, but with the first one, as you transition, how was that balance between married life, your work, your Pokemon hobby, and now having a child? That's a huge change.
So this is gonna sound crazy. Even with the second kid, my life hasn't changed any. So my oldest goes to bed at 8 p.m. He's been going to bed at 8 p.m. for the last 18 months. My youngest goes to bed at 7 p.m. 8 p.m. after that, that's my time. It's
That's your
been that
time.
way now since my son was born. So I don't really at this point remember anything different. The only thing different is when I'm home from work and that baby cries, it just cuts right through you, just like a knife. And it's just like, please stop crying just for a minute. And, but, my first, we're doing the whole potty train and stuff. We're having great luck with
Yeah.
that and everything. So yeah, it's just, I love my kids like every day. That jungle gym you talked about yesterday, I didn't go out today because it was like a little cold out, but yesterday, the day before, we were out on that jungle gym, me and him. I
For
go
sure.
and
That's
he's
waiting.
going down the slide and then he runs and he's like, dad, 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 dad. We just, dude, this is a good time. And
It
I
is.
don't want to take it for granted and I don't want to miss anything. So, only thing I guess that has been changing is just where my time might have been squandered or wasted watching TV after work or something before dinner and then before I did Pokemon stuff at night. Now I feel like I'm not squandering or wasting my time because that time is being spent with my kids.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said. And that's always quality time. No matter what you're
sure.
doing with the kids, that's always quality because
Oh,
they will remember that for the rest of their
dude,
lives.
I feel like an old man. Like I'm laying on my living room floor all the time playing with toys, and every time I bend down, I'm like, oh. Every time I get up, I'm like,
Exactly.
oh. But
Exactly. It's
it's
when you
worth
get up
it.
and you have to take like 2 or 3 steps really slowly. You're like, oh, okay, okay,
Yep.
all right, I got
But
it.
it's worth it. And we got like
Every
these
time.
Picasso, they're magnetic tiles and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I just love building stuff. So I'll go sit and just build stuff and he'll come and smash it. And it's like a little kid Lego. And I can't wait for he's old enough to have Legos too. Man.
Well, just wait until your kid's 9, like mine, and weighs about 150 pounds. He says, "Dad, pick me up." I'm like,
That's a
"Son,
big
I
boy,
can't do this much
150
longer."
pounds at 9.
Yeah,
Oh, he's gonna sounds like
he's
you got an
tall.
offensive like tackle in the
Uh,
makings.
I don't remember if you remember how tall I was when I met you, but he's a tall kid. He's already up to my shoulder. He's only
Oh,
9, man. He's gonna be
dude, he's
huge.
a monster, dude. He's gonna sign him up for football. Oh,
He'll be able to take. I told him, I said, "Son, one day you're gonna be stronger, faster, bigger than me,
right.
and it's not too far away. Not
That's
too
our
far
hope,
away."
right? Like every
Yeah,
generation is supposed to be a little
that's
bigger
right.
than the last. So
That's right. But I'm gonna keep fighting while I still can. See if I can outrun him on the field. Well, PK, we bring this into a close. We'll end up with 2 questions, my friend. Again, thank you so much for the time. It's been absolute blast. I've loved the conversation. I think we broke my record. Sorry. I think we had one for Professor Oak. Me and Josh tried to break it as well to Green Sheds, and I think you and I just did it. So we've officially went longer than the Titanic movie. So here we go. Here we go.
I could talk. It's in the
Um,
name, right? Rants upon rants upon rants.
that's right. That's right. And we did it successfully, I think. There's so many nuances and challenges as we look, in the value and the hobby, the community. Um, and one of the things that I hold very high for you, and which is why I picked your brain a little bit to see how you think and your thought process a little bit. And we didn't want to spend too much time there because we might lose everybody. But one of the things that fascinates me about you, and so I know it's hard for you probably to articulate in a couple of words or in however many you want to use. But how would you advise somebody to navigate through, making thought process, good decisions, navigating the difficult places of this hobby and trying to come out with the best outcomes because you can't just do it on the fly. You can't make an emotional reaction and make the decision from there. You have to give it some solid thought, and you're one of the people I think that take the time to think through things quite well. So how would you advise somebody to navigate some of those difficult decisions in the hobby?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, in the shortest amount of words is just when you're making a play, you look at it or you're doing anything and you say, do I think that this is going to work out in the future? And then if you understand the past, then you could really make that informed decision, not just past 20 years ago, past 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. If you could learn from history, you will not be doomed to make the same mistakes. But if you do not learn from history, you are doomed to repeat those mistakes. So, assuming you know that history, you can make those informed decisions. There was probably a lot of people picking up Darkness Ablaze Charizards and PSA 10s and Vivid Voltage VMAX Pikachus for $1,500 and going, I'm making the right play. But history has a funny way of repeating itself. So that would be my best advice. Learn from history. Just don't make the same mistakes.
I like it. Well, you know what's coming next, my friend? The last and final question. What legacy do you hope to leave in the hobby, PK, when you're gone?
That's a great one. I guess my biggest wish is if I could in the future have somebody who talks about me the same way as I talk about other people in this hobby, the people that I look up to in this hobby, and the people that inspired me in the hobby and keep you on that right path and encourage you to keep going with it and enjoy it and to love it and to realize that there are people out there that love this as much as you. If I could inspire one person and being like, if anybody out there in 10 years from now is a huge collector, has a massive collection, and they say, if anybody ever walks up to me and says to me like, PK, you are the reason I got so ingrained into this hobby, or I got so in depth into this hobby. Maybe that's a pipe dream to wish for, but it's the same way as a lot of people look at a person like Rusty, just if it wasn't for you, Rusty, like the way you do stuff, a lot of this hobby is a lot different. And if I could have even like an eighth of the impact that a guy like Rusty has had, or no matter what people want to say about Gary King Pokemon changed the fundamentals of how we interact with this hobby as a whole, and everyone owes him like in a way like a debt of gratitude, and we wouldn't have this market if it wasn't for people like him that kept it alive during the most dead of times. And if anybody ever came up to me and just, it would only take one. And if I ever got that, then that would be the legacy I wanted. And so when that person talks about me, they talk about me in a positive, and that's the only legacy I would ever need.
I love it. Great answer, man. Great answer. Fargus said you just made him rethink his collection goals.
Appreciate you, Fargus. Tell Fargus, Pokemon, Nintendo, Pichu. I think it's 2005 Pichu. I'll blow up his plays. The Nintendo stamp.
Well, PK, as I just said a few minutes ago, and also to everybody here in the chat, this has been an absolute blast, like many of our conversations. PK, thank you so much for spending this 3.5, almost 4 hours with us. Can't thank you enough. Everybody in the chat, we've been running for, again, this long. Most of the people that were here in the beginning are still here. Thank you so much. You guys are troopers, great rock stars. Can't wait till the next one. If I'm sure you already are, but if you're not, make sure you check out PK's links below. It's in the chat in the description. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do so. And I only ask one thing of everybody here. That's make somebody else smile, share your love of Pokemon, and help us grow this great community, guys. We thank you so much. Wish you a great one. We look forward to seeing you on the next one, guys. Thanks much.